We're recording video. Confirmed. We have backup audio. Confirmed. We have main audio. Confirmed. It is time. In 3, 2, 1. Core! Well, what do we have here? Another episode of Core? Sure, why not? Welcome to Core, the only gaming podcast that understands that what you do in the lake is between you and the good Lord above. Okay.
And the fish.
And the fish.
Oh, and the fish. I didn't think about the fish.
Other swimmers.
They've got a real view.
Yeah. No one ever thinks of the fish.
Why is the sun shitting? No.
Yeah. No one thinks of the fish. But in Bo's Lake, in Lake Bo, think of the fish. Anyway, hey, everybody, welcome back. I'd like to be happy about all of us being here. I'm Scott Johnson. That's Bo Schwartz. That's John Jagger. We're stoked. We're going to talk about video games. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
But I have a tiny rant, and I'm going to get it out real quick. Game Pass support sucks ass when things don't work.
It has support?
They do.
I didn't know. This is the first time hearing about it.
I mean, you have to pay. You pay for the thing, so you'd assume they'd have support. So this is the first time I've had to use it. So I thought, well, I'm sure they'll have some kind of decent something. I could at least message them or have a decent database of knowledge base or whatever. Here's the problem. When I go to launch a game, I'm trying to launch the new Trials of Mana, the new Legends of Mana game. It's on Game Pass on PC. And I have PC Game Pass for a while because I got a 3-month code that let me have additional time. So I'm currently doing that. And I downloaded Age of Mythology, that and that new Era or ARA, whatever it is. It's like
Ara.
Ara.
It's the game of JFK thinking about something.
That's the one. And
Ara.
So I downloaded all those, and I'm like, I don't know which one to launch first. Let's launch Age of Mythology. So I did it, and I get this message saying, which account do you want to log into? I'm like, oh, you never ask me that usually, but I'll go ahead and choose my main account. I'm already logged in because there's the launcher. I'm logged in. It has all my history. It has everything going on. It knows who I am. It has my name up top. So I log in, and I get an error message. It says, oh, something's gone wrong. Here's a weird number that makes no sense. Try again later or whatever. So I do all of that. I try again later. I try different games. I try their game fixer app thing that's supposed to like just scan everything and make it's like they have it on Steam. It's like a file integrity check or whatever. So I did all those things. Nothing. Kept doing the error. Logged in on the website. It's letting me get in there just fine. It shows that I'm subscribed. Like I'm checking all the stuff. It's all fine. And it still won't let me play any of these games. It's throwing this error. So, and I also checked server status. Maybe Game Pass is down. Authentication servers are down or something. Nope. Everything's up. So I go to their support thing. It's terrible. It's really bad. It's basically, did this help you? Like they'll give you suggested things. Like you start typing. It's like, oh, we think it's this. No, it's not even close. Well, did this help? No, it didn't help. Okay, do you want to talk to us or send us a message? Absolutely. So they start giving me a form to do it in. I hit submit, and it gives me a bunch of other topics to go through, but no final submit to send them the actual message. So it's like they're trying to do everything they can except have somebody else look into my problem. I hate that. And I know it's not just Game Pass. I know there's many services with shitty customer service front ends on the web, but this blows goats. And if you're a gamer who's just like, I just want to play my game, how pissed would you be? I wonder if my Xbox, if I should fire up the Xbox and try it there, because I'll bet same problem if I had to guess. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I can't launch games. So F that, and I'm mad at them, and they're gonna have to give me I don't know, a Minecraft themed controller or something to make me happy again.
There you go.
Yeah. Bum deal though. I was really pissed.
Yeah,
I couldn't get it to
bad
go.
they don't have good support. That's crazy.
And I really wanted to
Khadgar levels of support. Right
exactly.
there.
And I really wanted to try at least 2 of those. Mythology, not so much, but the 2 new ones. I wanted to see how those were and talk about the character John doesn't like that kept him away from Legends of Mana.
The fancy cat lad.
Fancy cat lad. And what was the other? And then the Ara.
All right. You will never be able to hear it without thinking it now.
You're welcome. It looks really cool, and I want to play it, but yeah, I'm sure. So if I phone call them, Squishy says he had to call once, and they were great. I mean, I guess I can do that. Why can't they be great in a chat window? It's 2024. I thought AI was going to save us all. What are we even doing? You're making too many pictures of...
Did you ask Chat GPT? Maybe it'll solve your issue faster.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, it's all a bunch of crap, and I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I just wanted to get that out there. If anyone works at Microsoft and wants to lend me their ear, let me know. All right? All right. Let's get to the main topic today. I don't know if you guys heard, sort of, I felt like we were hearing in real time the other night when we covered Sony State of Play, but things are weird at Ubisoft right now, and we know a little bit more now, but there was a very sudden pulling of Assassin's Creed Shadows from the Tokyo Game Show and other events, and now we have confirmation that they've delayed the game until next February, saying they want to polish it and tweak it and do whatever, and some other stuff. We'll get to all that in a minute, but it's really left me with this impression that Ubisoft is at a crossroads crisis point. And I don't want to. I'm not trying to like. I don't like hyperbolic stuff based on little information, but we know that for years now Ubisoft has struggled to get it right. Everything from a long delayed, announced in 2015, barely came out this year version of Skull and Bones to just other issues that they've had trying to get games out. Lots of canceled projects, stuff that came out in betas and then got pulled, that sort of thing. And so now I don't know what's going on. I worry.
I mean, I don't think it's hyperbolic to say things that are just true.
Yeah.
Their stock is at the lowest it's been in over a decade.
Sure.
That tells you where the faith is in the company.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Shadows, a game that was getting very close to its launch window, got delayed. Star Wars Outlaws was received very middlingly. They've acknowledged it. They themselves have acknowledged it.
Yeah.
The CEO had a public call where he stated that making games that are just solid isn't good enough for today's audience. Like, these are all facts.
I don't even know what that means.
It's not hyperbolic to say Ubisoft is in a really bad place.
Yeah,
right,
but what do you think that when he says aren't solid, or if they're just solid, what does that even mean? That seems like nonsense.
To me, solid seems like a nice way of saying, like, well, it worked. or maybe what you would consider middle of the road video games, like, I mean, one of the things we criticize Ubisoft about, because we've certainly talked about it, is they find a way to try and convince you that spending $125 on whatever their newest game is a great idea. If you're going to spend that kind of money, you should expect a stellar experience. And the facts, whether there are some people who might like it, there's some people who might hate it, has been that the general reception to most of their last, previous games has been middling at best. Yeah. And nobody wants to spend $125 for Battle Pass and DLC and microtransactioned up the ass products that are okay.
Do you think there's anything to the talk around this? I'll ask this of Bo. Do you think there's anything to the rumor that they balked at the new Ghosts of Topico, or whatever her name is? What is it?
Topico?
Yote. Sorry.
Topico.
Whatever it is. I always forget.
Sushio, I get. Topico.
Topico. Toe cutter, whatever it is. But that thing comes out, that trailer at the thing, or on the State of Play, was gorgeous, and people really loved that game. They loved the first one. It's respected and revered and all this. Is it possible? Some people are saying anyway. People are saying, I hate that phrase, so I'll stop saying it. But I have heard some people say, I think it's because Ubisoft has a set in ancient feudal Japan thing that is meant to evoke all the things you think of when you think of feudal Japan and what an open world like that might look like. And Sony has already pulled that off extremely well with Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima. And now they've got a sequel and they're showing it off, and it's going to make us look like also Rands, even though that game's not going to be out for another year and a half, if that. I don't think there's that much to do with that. You can both make games set in ancient Japan and be okay. But it is all
Yeah.
timed real weird, right? It's easy to get.
I mean, the
conspiratorial.
aesthetics are different. If I was just to look at both Ghosts of Tsushima, I haven't played it, but judging from the trailer, and you've played it, so you can confirm.
It's really good.
Seems like a stylized, Akira Kurosawa like film made into a game.
Kind of, yeah.
Where there's like melodramatic themes, and but we're going for just that, like melodrama, like big sword battles that have huge stakes and meaning and emotion and stuff. Assassin's Creed to me always felt like, even when I played them, it's like, yeah, they've got that story, but their story is a goofy sci-fi. It's this goofy sci-fi thing where you're going back to learn memories in order to help you with the future, first of all, and second, at least it used to. I don't know if it's doing that much these days, but it was a bit of a like. It tried to be I guess it's changed because now they've introduced like gods and weird creatures and stuff. But the original Assassin's Creed, the spirit of the franchise was like a dispassionate look at actually, we looked at history, and sure, maybe we get stuff wrong about history, but for the most part, we're trying to like make historically accurate sandboxes where you happen to be the assassin, and that's what you're doing. But like people are, if you meet Michelangelo, he's Michelangelo. He's not like, I'm a wizard too, like they're not doing anything weird. I think they've changed that. Probably recently, maybe for the better, maybe for worse, but I still think the Assassin's Creed name carries with it a sense of, it's like a Star Trek episode where we're going back in time and we're going to try and get things right about history and still tell a cool story.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, it's like we can have both. So I don't think because there's a stylized Akira Kurosawa sword game doesn't mean we can't have, an Assassin's Creed game that is like going more for quote unquote historical accuracy. Now I know this Yasuke thing kind of throws a wrench in it because maybe he didn't exist. Maybe I think.
Well, he did.
I think.
Yeah. The question isn't whether he existed; it's whether he was what people said he was.
The guy who wrote the book on it said like a lot of the stuff was tenuous. Like there isn't a lot to hang your hat on historically. Apparently,
right? Like how much of a samurai he was and stuff like that.
The guy who wrote the book is like got off of social media because he was getting harassed for his, he was just getting harassed too much.
Good job, gamers. Good job. Well done.
I don't even think that was a gamers thing. I think this was before Assassin's Creed was even announced. Like this was just an interview I watched this week, but apparently, I haven't looked at it firsthand. I would really like to speak on it knowing firsthand, but apparently there's maybe some dispute about historical facts because history's like that. Yeah. Some stuff we know for sure, some stuff we have some sources. But was anybody there from firsthand accounts that is a trusted source as well? There's definitely stuff like that in history too, and I think this might be more in that camp. Yeah. And someone who's making a fun video game might be like, it doesn't matter if it really happened or not. Like, at the end of the day. But Assassin's Creed does feel like a franchise that is more that they're going to do more work than the next guy on things like historical accuracy, even if they're dealing with myth.
Yeah, and the myth usually, well, not always, but sometimes the myth in Assassin's Creed games comes from, say, in not Ragnarok, Valhalla, he had to be taken, basically your character had to take a bunch of drugs before he saw any of the myth stuff, which is part of myth, right? Like back in the day, these shaman would give you weird herbs and then you'd be out of it all night, but then you'd come back and go, I talked to Odin and he touched my left nipple or whatever, and it's all because you were on drugs all night. I like that. I like when they fiddle with that stuff, and I think those games do okay with it. But
and the game doesn't have to be historic accurate. I'm not saying like Assassin's Creed is associated with exact historical accuracy. Like there's episodes of Star Trek where they go back in time and hang out with what's his beak, Mark Twain, and maybe they got some stuff. Maybe they got some stuff right. Maybe they stretched a few things. You still sort of think of it as like the people writing it are trying to like be. They're not trying to sensationalize it, i.e. Mark Twain was a Dragon Ball Z fighter in addition to everything else. So, that's just more what I mean. There's like this sort of grounded, yes, it's fiction. And yes, even the idea of an assassin thing is like obviously ahistoric and fictional to some extent, at least to the degree to which they were depicted like as super capable, super heroic murderers in the franchise. You know?
Oh yeah, like as far as like the Templars,
there were definitely secret societies. You know,
yeah, the secret society stuff they stretch pretty far on that. But I guess my point is, if you at a baseline you're appealing to people about the time setting, you're also appealing to just fans of Assassin's Creed, I suppose. But you're appealing to this hey, it's set in feudal Japan. Oh no, here comes a game that does not have currently as many controversies as a company as we have, although Sony's got their share of controversies. But you know, I don't know if I was at Ubisoft that would be reason enough for me to pull it, but it might have been the straw that broke the camel's back with every other problem they're having. The low sales of the Star Wars game, other projects just getting, you know, hammered or thrown away or reviewing terribly or whatever. Like, I can't remember the last time Ubisoft had like a stellar moment. It's been since, I don't even know.
Yeah.
What's it been since?
Well,
Assassin's Creed Origins.
What was the last like
people like
really,
Black Flag.
really good?
Probably
people like Black Flag.
Yeah, but I think it's even. I think Odyssey.
And even Black Flag was off the back of a big hit, like a big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just saying, what was the last big thing that people really loved? I think people really liked Odyssey. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Odyssey was very popular. It did receive a lot of it. It though got its like, okay, you're getting a little long in the tooth for people that were really into Origins. But
was it a win? Was it a win?
I think financially it was a win. It sold really well.
Even if it wasn't a full like 10 on 10 win, was it a over the line? They released an engaging, fun product that people enjoyed.
Yeah, it was an 8.5 to a 9 win, sure. And I think
so maybe since then.
I think the other, what was the other game that came out that year that I really, the Phoenix Rising games.
Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, I love that.
Considered very good.
Yeah, but that didn't do, that didn't do crazy well. So I don't know if they considered it.
I don't know what the state of Siege is, but Siege has been around for a while, and I think it's generally...
Siege was a absolute failure when it came out, but has turned around to be very beloved. So Siege is like one of those, they fixed it. They got it taken care of.
It counts, I guess. If we're giving it to No Man's Sky, we can give it to Siege.
So Steam charts still has that up pretty high. I think that game gets played a lot even to this day. It's old now.
Here's the thing about like companies going through bad shit. Like some of our favorite movies in history were super dysfunctional enterprise. Like Apocalypse Now, right? Was just a terrible nightmare. Books have been written about how that movie was filmed, but it's considered a masterpiece, right? It's a film.
Sure.
So the fact that company's dysfunctional doesn't mean it can't knock one or two out of the park. I think we get that conflated when we start talking about what's going on with companies and the news and stuff. So I think it does follow if a company's dysfunctional or poorly guided, or in Blizzard, we'll talk about later, in Blizzard's case, like totally taken over by the money men, it could really mess the soup up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably what we're seeing here with Ubisoft.
Probably.
We're seeing there's something wrong inside.
I think, Scott, you asked what does solid mean? And to me, I like more than what Sony's doing. I think that question is why this game got delayed. If you want to know my opinion, I think that Assassin's Creed Shadows, probably if it kept its original date and came out, it probably would have been another quote-unquote solid video game, in that it probably would have looked pretty good, played pretty good, but maybe not set the world on fire. And when you add to that the discussion around it, how negative it has been, how negatively it has been received in places, I think that they're starting to realize that maybe that's not what they need right now. It definitely isn't what they need. Yeah. So I think my theory is, if I had to put money on why this game got delayed, it is either not ready at a technical level, due to, whether that's issues, it's just not going to play well, because they've certainly been there. I don't remember what the Assassin's Creed, the one set in France.
Unity.
Unity. Yeah, Unity is one that a lot of people remember. Either we were going to have a repeat of Unity, or we were going to, see something that just wasn't good.
Unity had that awesome glitch where it would just be their brainstem and their eyeballs talking to people.
Yeah. I mean, you say Assassin's Creed Unity, it immediately conjures NPC horrors from screenshots.
Yeah.
I think that I think that they are going to have to really think about this, and I don't even know if February is going to happen because it has moved to. A lot of people have pointed out February is a very stacked month for video games.
Yeah.
It's gone from a place where it would have had its own little window to come out to now it's looking like it's going to be releasing with a lot of heavy competition in February. So
February is where
we'll
games
see.
go to be launched late. That's what happens. And then what happens is if
Yeah.
enough people do it, enough delays happen, now that month is a nightmare. And so I think you're probably right. It's not that they'll delay it for any other more technical reasons in February, but I'll bet they push it just to get some freedom,
I wonder
open it
what
up.
sales patterns are like now, but isn't it? It's just 4 months. It's not like they're giving themselves a ton of time to fix things.
Yeah.
If there was something like that to miss the Christmas window.
I mean,
Like,
I think
don't-
I think Dragon
that's a
Age
huge thing,
Dragon Age
right?
4 is like a big looming problem for them in terms of player interest. I think that game is poised to take a lot of people's attention away, and I think they have to
And
look at
Indiana
that.
Jones is going to be a Christmas title too. That's
Shit.
that's probably going to sell a lot. Like,
Yeah.
good or bad, I'm pretty sure a lot of people day one are gonna put the money down for that. I know,
Yeah.
like not just like less, not the core gamers, like even just more casual gamers, in their middle ages, like Crofton. He's gonna hate that I call him a casual gamer, but
Yeah.
he does. You don't play WoW. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, what's wrong with you, buddy?
You're casual, dude. He's gonna buy Indiana Jones. He's a huge Indiana Jones fan. He's gonna buy that game, and I know there's a lot of people that love. That's a big nostalgia bait right there.
Yep.
And it looks good. It doesn't look like who knows how it's going to end up, but I think that's going to get a lot of people.
And that's
I heard
also that's a
somewhere
game
that-
coming on everything too, by the way. Just as a side note,
Yeah.
that thing's coming to PC, it's coming to Steam, coming to Epic, coming to Game Pass, coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series things day one. That thing has no reason not to succeed unless it's terrible.
I might buy it too. It's really appealing. The idea of like punching Nazis feels really good. This day and age where everyone's calling everyone else a Nazi. It's like let's remind everyone what a Nazi
Let's punch
is.
some real Nazis.
Let's punch some real
actual
Nazis.
Nazis.
It's been a while since we've played some, Wolfenstein and Indiana Jones is welcome. They're forever the only human bad guys that you can still humanize but still be okay with punching and beating up and all. Like they are fair game for villains, and there's definitely something appealing about that. So I'm looking forward to punching some Nazis.
Yeah, big agree on that.
So I think that game's poised to do well too. I saw that Assassin's Creed Shadows also, there might have been a comment somewhere. I wish I sourced my stuff better, but it's Core. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to Core. We don't source in it.
There's some learnings from Star Wars Outlaws that they're bringing to what's happening with AC Shadows. I don't know what that means, but I know that there's definitely like a polish on Outlaws that
Oh yeah, for sure.
they may not want to repeat with their next release. With this release.
Yeah, because I'll talk about it in what I played this week, but I'll tell you the difference between what I experienced when I first tried it versus this week. I'm assuming there was a patch in there. If there wasn't, somehow magic happened on my computer and it just plays better. But I'm pretty sure there was a patch because that game did not play well for me when I first played it, and I played it again this week and it played pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So
they definitely got
I
a
feel
patch,
like-
but I don't know what was included. But I think you're right.
I feel like something happened, and I mean, like you just said, this is 4 months. It's not an insane amount of time, so it's not like I have seen some pretty wild speculation of like, well, they're gonna throw out a whole protagonist in the game. No. I don't think they're gonna do that in 4 months. That's more that would be a much bigger issue to solve. I don't think 4 months is going to make the difference there, which is why I'm kind of more inclined to believe that it was going to come out and not play great.
Yeah.
Now that could be bugs. There are things where it's like, well, maybe this system isn't very good. Maybe this doesn't play very good. Maybe this is confusing. So there could be some gameplay elements there, but I wouldn't expect that they're rewriting the script on the video game.
No,
Like,
plus,
it's
if
gonna be what
anything,
it was going to be.
if anything, they agree with you. They're saying it's a polish thing. It's a sew up some loose ends. Like it isn't a core game. thing, that would take longer than 4 months. You're absolutely right about that. But as a result of all of this, their stock took a giant shit today. Lowest in a decade since AC. What was the original one? AC. Or no, the last big dip, I can't remember what it was. There was something that it was an Assassin's Creed related dip again. They rely so much on this series to like
keep... Gotta be so stressful. Like, not to, I know no one wants to feel sorry, but when your whole net value is like based on a super volatile product that's super expensive and could just shit the bed, like, oh my God.
I know, right?
Imagine like, just like, oh, we're going to make a whole bunch of people unhappy because the sword doesn't swing very good. Like, oh no. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. It looks like it went as low as, let's see. I'm trying to find it here. Ubisoft said it expects bookings, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I can't find it. Anyway, it dropped precipitously is the point. Got hit.
Well, they can always turn it around, but I don't know in terms of internal workings what's going on. They had a lot of, sexual harassment, workplace problems. Like when your staff is in revolt, it's hard to get things done. Like, and you got a lot of people. Like, you're spending all your time putting out fires and dealing with HR and not making games.
Yeah.
It's not. It shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone if we find out that they're having internal problems of various kinds. That the output, which is artistic in nature, suffers.
I'll bet you.
Well,
I'll bet you. Oh, go ahead, John.
It's not listed here, but another news story for Ubisoft is there's expected to be a walkout protest from their France offices over return to work mandates.
Ooh.
So in addition to all of this, there's that too.
Yeah.
I don't know what your status is in the States. That's the thing going on in Canada, but like the more socialist countries, like a lot of people are still working from home and a lot of people want that to stop.
There's still a lot of it here.
Fighting.
There's a lot of that going on here, and there's a lot of corporate push to get everybody back 100%. Gaming businesses.
I just assume you guys are more hardcore about like people are like going to work, like because you don't have healthcare and other stuff. So
yeah,
you know what I mean. That like I would assume bosses and that kind of thing have more hand to get their way from places with more protections, for people. So
most of it, I think, is. I mean, I'd call me cynical, but I think most of the pushback is about commercial real estate, and it's just sitting there and not getting used.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
Sell it, guys.
Yeah, sell it.
Stop holding on to it, or just rent it.
Well, it's an industry. It's a whole industry that doesn't want to take a shit, and I think they're going to have to.
Yeah. I mean, it does affect a lot of people too. Like if you opened a restaurant in a primarily work area, like I live in Ottawa, and the downtown core is full of government workers. So if all the government workers are at home, all those businesses.
They all suffer.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Like goodbye.
Yeah, the whole setup, the entire setup of all capitalistic efforts have a building and people filling it, and then that peters out to other things like that. McDonald's on the corner gets business, the Starbucks gets business, the pizza that got brought in got business. Like it's just it all is based on that. So when you take away the one core part of it, say no one's there anymore. Like everyone scrambles. So I kind of get why they're panicking, but I do think it's also a reset they may not be able to control. Like, I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
I mean, it sold a lot of people on the concept, and said like, hey, it basically lifted the illusion. It lifted the illusion that we got to be at work to get this stuff done. But at the same time, I think personally, a lot of it just depends on what they told their employees. Like, if an employer wants you to work in the office, then that's where your job is. And in general, I think that that's what you do need to respect. But we heard lots of cases, especially with Activision Blizzard, where they were told, no, you're going to be remote from now on. It's fine. People literally moved out of state. And then they went, you know what? We're thinking you need to come back and work from the office again. That's messed up.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where it's like, as long as the communication is fair, I don't really have a problem with an employer dictating the terms of what it wants for its workers, as long as it's being fair. But if you're telling people that they're going to be working from home and setting that expectation, then I don't think it's unreasonable to have a bunch of pushback when you change your mind on that.
Yeah. Also, you're just seeing the opposite of what people feared, which was that it would be a massive loss of productivity. And it's shown the opposite of that. Productivity's up, and in the games business in general, like some of the best work has, in recent years anyway, award-winning work has come out of remote offices. Most of the big new studios that have splintered out of Blizzard and other companies are remote by design. Like that's how there's Greg's studio, for example. It's remote by design. They have get-togethers. They have these things where I forget what it is. It's not once a month, but it's every 2 months. They have on-site. They all converge somewhere, which is a lot cheaper than owning a bunch of buildings and land where you have to maintain it constantly. But you bring everybody together. You have that interaction, that whatever. It really boosts everybody's morale or whatever, and then you all go back and get your work done. And you could argue like the best expansion Blizzard has made since in World of Warcraft since way back in the day was Dragonflight, and Dragonflight was 100% remote, all of it, which is crazy to me.
Well, it brought flying, and I love the new flying. Like it's
great.
I can't attest to Dragonflight being the best because I didn't really play it, but I like a lot of the changes that I know come from Dragonflight that are in the game currently. So
this game, the current game or the current expansion is benefiting greatly from groundwork laid by the previous expansion.
I mean, a lot of people can work from home, and this world we live in now, where people our age, a lot of spouses work, so you don't have an at-home spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Childcare alone is like ridiculous. Like it's for the people I know with kids, like it costs. I mean, a shocking amount, almost to the point I'm like, why are you working if you're paying that much in childcare? Like, so
you want to incentivize people.
It costs so much money for workers in many places to do you the favor of working on your site, like having to buy clothes, transportation, childcare. It's like it costs a ton of money. Like working from home.
You are explaining why I didn't get a new job after I lost my last one. Was we ran the numbers, and it would have been more expensive for me to get a job and pay for childcare than it was for me to not work and collect money from various other means where I could, the show, stuff like that, and take care of the kid. Like it was more cost effective to not work. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So
I never think of because I don't have kids, but like I've talked with people with kids. I can't believe how much they pay in childcare, and it's hard to get on top of all. Huge waiting list. All like it costs more than your car.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane how much childcare costs.
Yeah, and it's also insane how, at least somewhat politically down here, everybody's yelling at everybody to have kids, and you're like, yeah, but what are our incentives? Like, you're making it so hard. And we all love our kids. It's not an issue with that. It's not like we're all a bunch of weird, like our kids are the worst or anything. It's not that. It's expensive as hell.
I like the chat room too. No one gets harassed when they work from home. Yeah, you'll save on lawsuits too.
Yeah.
You can set up 5 lawyers. You can have 2 on retainer.
Yeah.
But the whole system isn't built effectively. I mean, the school day does not line up with a work day.
No, it doesn't.
So in order for both parents to work and kids to go to school, someone has to take time off to go facilitate child pickups and drop-offs and things like that. Or you have to, again, pay for childcare of some kind. Like it's a system that is completely broken, but you need to fix like 8 different things to fix one thing.
Yep.
Like it's a mess.
It's gonna get weirder.
This is all Ubisoft's fault.
It's all Ubisoft's fault.
So Ubisoft, if you can put out a good goddamn video game, we can finally have our children get cared for.
That's right.
Let your people work from home. They can't do any worse in some cases than they're doing now, so it's fine. Bringing them to the office is not going to make better games.
Well, but look at the problem they have, and we can finish this off at this. They have 20,000 employees. They have 45 studios in current production.
Lord.
That's too many. Now I know that this. I know what this
God.
means. It means that you're going to have to start cutting corners and dropping studios, and that means people are going to lose jobs. But I think that's probably coming. You can't maintain this forever. But a lot of that pressure is 20,000 employees. If you add up what it costs to have offices, equipment, everything that it takes to run that many offices, that many people, it's an enormous amount of money, possibly reaching into the billions. And when, commercial real estate isn't getting a dime of that because everybody's working from home, I think it benefits Ubisoft if they don't own all that stuff, to have people working remote, right? Because now they don't have to pay for all that extra crap. So I don't know how it's all going to work, but they have so many things. You saw this in the credits for Star Wars at the beginning. They list all of the studios that had a hand in the Star Wars game, and it's this gigantic list all over the world. How is this sustainable for a company that can't put out a good game right now? 45 studios, 20,000 people. That's more than like the town I grew up in.
They need to stop trying to make 100 different games for everybody. Like, they really do. They need to. They obviously want to be making, I'll jokingly say, quadruple A video games. Like, that's obviously what they want to do. They want to have good graphics. They want to have big, long form, open world experiences, crazy things like that. Then make one really good one.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is they're making 7 or 8 shitty ones, or shitty to okay ones.
Yeah.
And
solid, they say, solid.
That's not going to be sustainable. I've loved, well, okay, between loved and liked every Far Cry game I've played.
Sure.
But they're all so similar, I skip 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
I don't need a new Far Cry every single year, because I go, oh, you know what? I really got an itch to go clear out a camp of bad guys and run around with a bear that eats cheeseburgers. Like me and a diabetic bear are going to go maul some people. That sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to do that again next year. I can go 2 to 3 or 4 years between doing that again. And Ubisoft is just like, no, put another one out. We got to put it on top of another Assassin's Creed and another one of these. Just make one really amazing experience.
Yeah, and then build on that, and then make another one.
Like,
keep doing it.
Again, it's going to be something I would talk about on the What I Played, but it's relevant here, so I'll mention it. One of the things that is the hardest for me going through Star Wars Outlaws right now is, instead of getting immersed in the world, I am constantly looking at it as a video game, because I'm constantly thinking like, oh, this could have been better. Like, as I go through, I'm just constantly thinking, I wish it did this. I wish it did this. Oh, it would have been so cool if it did this. And because I'm thinking about it as a video game, I'm not getting immersed in it, which an open world game is about immersion. Yeah. Like, that's what you have to sell it on. You have to sell it on people want to live and breathe and be in this world and experience it. But if people are just looking at it going, this feels bad. I don't like the way this plays. Oh, I wish they would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. All you're thinking about is, this is a video game I'm playing right now, and it's not as good as it could be.
Yeah.
And if they took a little extra time, if they got the right kind of feedback, and if they made those experiences the quadruple A experiences that they claim to put out, I think everyone would have played Star Wars Outlaws instead of a bunch of people bouncing off of it because they're like, it looked okay, and then it didn't get good reviews, so I'm not going to play it.
Yeah, it's also, that's the state of the business now. Reviews matter, influencers matter. I was watching, I don't know what impact this has, but I was watching a stream of a certain prominent streamer who I'll not mention because I don't want to get into it, but somebody who was streaming the trailer for Ghosts of Topico, whatever her name is.
Ghosts of Yote.
Yote. And Tropico 6. Ghosts of Tropico 6. This person was watching it, and it got to the reveal where it's a new game set in a different part of Japan and a new protagonist who happens to be female. And the only thing out of his mouth was, "Do I have to be the girl? Can I be a dude?" Like, he's doing it just to goad his people. And someone who does this stuff all the time, so we're used to it. But these things, unfortunately, have a major impact on how people think or talk about these games. And in Ubisoft's case, they're already on brittle ice, it feels like. So add on top of that, oh, you got a black guy in your samurai game that never existed potentially, or whatever other superfluous, gamer anger thing.
The girl. So,
the other character's a girl. Whatever it is, and they all start getting on them. It has an impact. Like, I don't think Ghosts of Yoda is going to have this problem, because
Well, at least it starts with the right letter now, everybody. At least we're back into it starts with a Y instead
on that
of a
front.
T.
I'm sure that same person really loved playing a girl in Stellar Blade. So they're really just confessing with their fat material.
Well, at the end of the
if
day,
I can
though,
fap to the girl, then it's okay to play as her.
Yeah.
But if I can't, then why would I want? It's just gross.
I mean, it's
like,
a different issue.
At the end of the day,
yeah.
though, you know what shuts up everybody?
What?
Like as much as all these talking heads want to have an opinion on everything, including us. What shuts up everyone is if the game is good.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what validates opinions, good, bad, or otherwise? If the game sucks.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Because if the game comes out and is bad, mediocre to bad, you have instantly validated everything everybody said about the game one way or another, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not technically true, but it's what everyone will take as truth.
Yeah.
So if you want to, you can do whatever you want in a video game. Baldur's Gate 3 is full of stuff that people would cry woke about.
Yeah.
You know why nobody does with Baldur's Gate 3? Because it's a really good video game.
It's an amazing video game.
True. It's Deadlock's the same way. Apex Legends is the same way. Apex is a very diverse crowd. You never hear anyone squawking about that shit when it comes to a game that's good. You know, it's true.
Yep. John makes a really good point.
But those guys are assholes. Like they're just looking for a reason to say that kind of stuff.
Oh, they're still a-holes either way. Yeah, I mean, both things are true. Like if your game comes out and is good, people will give less credence to that sort of stuff. But if it doesn't, even if it's mediocre or mid, it's going to come out and they're going to all go, well, I remember what, let's call him Blasmanfold said that one time on that stream. This just confirms it. Woke game trash. Like I freaking hate that stuff. But John's right. If the game comes out and it's just awesome, worth every penny you paid for it, no one will care anymore. They'll just play.
No one cares.
Yeah.
It'll be good. You know what? Stellar Blade was a hell of a game.
Yep. Good game. Good
People
game.
are fighting in their own little mini game anyways. So
yeah, it's a real, it's what do you used to call those, the real life game around a game. There was like it's like a marketing ploy. What is that called?
It's a meta game for sure.
It's a meta game,
like a gender identity politics meta game that people choose to get into.
That game sucks. I don't like it.
So.
Half star for that game. I don't like it.
Yes, John's right. The game's good. No one's gonna give a shit.
We will see what happens. We're gonna have to wait 4 months, a little less than that, to see how things go for Assassin's Creed. And I don't want them to lose it. I don't want 20,000 people to get cut in half, and I don't want to see 25 of their studios close. Like I don't want to see any of those things if we can help it. But it does feel like they're operating in a different decade right now, and they got to do something.
Sure, but if the whole company goes under, like that's a lot more jobs lost. That's a lot more developers closed. Like
might just be a new leadership time. That's all. Like it seems to be a leadership problem to me.
Yeah.
Like if they're having that much trouble, put the other stuff aside. They've still got to invent a product that people are excited by. Like John said, well, it's going to take somebody with those ideas or who can identify those ideas and bring them to light. If we're doing Assassin's Creed 47, the 47th installment of Assassin's Creed, maybe it doesn't sell well, or so not that. Maybe it's time for some new ideas.
Do you think Guy and his brother Michael, or whoever the two founders were? I mean, it's all owned by the Guillemot family, however you say it. Do you think they need to maybe, I don't know, step aside and let some...
I mean, only they really know what's at the heart of the problem, and I guess that's always the tough thing in these, group. These big groups, there are different factions. There's different opinions on how to do things. At the end of the day, somebody's got to steer the ship, and somebody who can prove that they can do it well is the one that should be leading things. And that's not an easy question to answer, depending on whose ego is like there. But like, if there are problems, then that's usually in the corporate world when shakeups need to happen.
I have a little fun fact for you. Did you know that Ubisoft was originally, the name came from ubiquitous software? It was a short way of saying that.
Yeah,
well, that's good that they shortened it.
Yeah, glad they did that. Ubiquitous software. Yeah.
Smart decision number one, change our name to Ubisoft.
That's right. It started out as a support business for farmers in the Brittany province of France and other regions. two of the kids went to college and thought they could do more, so they came back and they started dealing with computer stuff in '86. The company had earned as much as $40 million in French francs, was about $8.8 million US at the time. And it just grows from there. But
they were able to help farmers by creating software where you climbed up a tower and synced, and it would tell you all the various activities you could do in the area.
It would just open up
for your farm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
all the little new icons.
We got to go
pop.
get the strawberries. There's a marker down there,
Yep.
and then we got to clear out the chicken coop. There's lots of eggs. We got to do it stealthily.
The hard part was training everybody to run hand over fist up buildings and down the other side and stuff like that. But
yeah,
they got used to it. It all worked out. Well, anyway, more on that as we know it. In the meantime, it's time for us to talk about other news of note. For example, the next Yakuza game, the Like a Dragon series, is a freaking pirate game. And I thought this was bullshit when I saw it. I'm like, what April Fool's bullshit is this?
Move over, Skull and Bones.
This is real.
Yeah, you're about to have
a real pirate game is coming to visit.
John, you said something somewhere in our Discord that you thought this was the best news it could be for a new Yakuza game or something like that.
Yes, absolutely. This is the best news it can be, in my opinion, but I don't think I'm alone on this.
Yeah.
So yeah, they announced that the next Like a Dragon, which is what we call Yakuza, is now, they're trying to rebrand it. We always called it Yakuza. Its branding has always been Like a Dragon, so they've made the shift.
They put Yakuza in the title anyways.
Yeah, they still hide it in there. So
the full title is Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's such an amazing title. And it's such an amazing concept that I read. I don't know how true this is, but they did have screenshots that apparently someone leaked this on 4chan that this was going to be the next Like a Dragon game.
Yeah.
And nobody cared. Nobody reported it because nobody believed it was true. It popped up there. People went, all right, whatever. That sounds like a fan service fever dream. And nobody bought into it. But it turns out it is the next. It is the next one.
So how piratey is it? Do we know like it's like ships and stuff?
First of all, to answer that question, you have to understand who the game's protagonist is.
Okay.
The usual protagonists are Kiryu, Kazuma, or Ichiban Kasuga. But there have been in Yakuza 0, and I think he's in 2, this antagonist to Kiryu, but frenemy, Goro Majima, which we've talked a lot about in the show. This is the Goro Majima game. Majima is a madman. He's the mad dog of Shimano. He's not a stoic hero character, but he's ultimately a good guy, but he likes to cut things, often himself, with his knives.
Is that what happened to his eyeball? He has one eye. He's got a patch. Right?
Yeah, he was tortured in his early Yakuza days and had an eyeball removed.
Okay.
During his so
right.
Yes,
he didn't do that to himself though. He didn't like put a knife in there and cut his own eye out. Do you know of?
I don't. I think it gets explained in Yakuza 0. I think it was a really like evil Yakuza guy who a name I can't remember. I don't think he did it himself, but it's possible. I don't want to say no because maybe he might have been forced to do it himself.
The fact that we can't remember whether he did it himself or it was done to him tells you a lot about the character.
Right.
So all that to say is the character is a nut job. He's crazy. So there's no character better for a pirate game than Captain Goro Majima. It's perfection. If you know the game, it would have sucked if it was anyone else, honestly.
Is it an actual pirate setting? Like it's modern?
It takes place in 2024.
Modern day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Modern day.
All right.
And so the whole deal with Infinite Wealth is that it takes place in Hawaii, or however they say it.
Hawaii.
And well, they don't. It's not Hawaii. It's Hawaii.
Oh.
and sorry, I've played too much of that game. I learned a lot about Hawaii. But they so the whole deal is like the connection is the Yakuza, who are getting disbanded in Japan, secretly, make a deal with a cult. Well, it's not really a cult, but it's Palekana, but it's taken over by a guy who pretty much makes it into a cult. And they're there to store the secrets of all the rich people of the world to use as blackmail and stuff. And part of that plot of that game is figuring that out and destroying it and exposing everyone.
Yeah.
But there are pirates that visit like Dondoko Island and stuff like that. So it's like they lately, allude to it, and two of the biggest boss fights in Infinite Wealth are against a giant shark and a giant squid.
Okay.
Like they're just like, that shark's on crack. Holy shit. In fact, spoiler alert, if you haven't played it, what's his beak? Machete guy.
Danny Trejo.
Danny
Danny Trejo dies to a shark.
Great.
You don't in fact kill him because you're a nice guy, but the shark, you fight him while the shark's fighting a boat, and the shark, And what's canon? Not canon, but what's part of the story is that the Palikana, to protect their island, have like trained up crazy fish to keep people away from sticking their nose in it.
Wow.
I don't know if I really answered your question. I've just been rambling.
Anyway, yes, they're real pirates, Scott.
Yes.
But it's set in modern day.
But they're doing things like taking out other pirate ships and robbing them and taking their
Yeah.
treasure. And
Like you see the fight sequences on the ships, like it's full on pirate action, baby.
Turn-based
like
or real time? What are they
Real
doing?
time in this.
Yeah,
time.
Ichiban does the turn base. This is gonna be like the man who erased his name.
I love how it's like they make this decision based on the character they're using. That's weird.
It's true because Igoro's more of a breakdancing fighter too. Like he's got a whole style of moves that's just him doing breakdance moves. So he's an acrobatic fighter compared to Kiryu, who's more of a dragon, who's just stoic and strong, and can headbutt you, and he'll take no damage, and your face will fall off.
Dang, dude.
They did do a gameplay preview today, though, that I did see,
they did?
and it looks like one of his fighting styles is, and he used this in a couple of the games where he can create shadow clones of himself. And so one of the fighting styles, you'll be creating shadow clones to help you in combat, which looks awesome. He also has a pirate style where he's fighting with dual cutlasses and occasionally pulls out a pistol. So it looks great. And this is the perfect character for it. This is the perfect setting. It allows them, I mean, one of the reasons that they come out with so many of these games, we talked about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth not long ago. They reuse the setting. So they're going to reuse a lot of Hawaii stuff. You're going to be right back where you were, but they just expand on it. So there's going to be pirate ships and boarding boats and stuff like that when you're not in town doing things. There is footage of him on a bike doing like courier missions, so it's not going to be all pirate all the
crazy
time.
deliveries back.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be one of those things where it's like there's going to be a mix of modern and a mix of pirate, but it definitely looks like the story they're telling is going to be a very piratey story. And he does have amnesia. I feel like
amnesia too. Yeah.
It's important to mention that he doesn't remember who he is or how he got there.
Perfect.
So
I don't know what to do with this information. It's insane.
I just want to remind everybody that this is maybe.
Oh, so he's really going to believe he's a pirate. Yeah.
One day we will look back at this series and we will say, this was true video game art, and it was unappreciated in its time.
Yeah.
The Like a Dragon series will be the Van Gogh of video game art.
I mean, I just bought a whole pile of them last week. They've just got a lot of heart. I think the real good stuff about the storytelling is like the gameplay is disconnected from a genuine effort to tell a melodramatic and touching story a lot of the time. So that's part of it. It isn't just like, oh, this is goofy, let me buy it. But that like, oh, there's a good chance I'm really going to dig the story too. Like it's great.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying Cyberpunk should do. Like, don't reinvent Night City every time. Like you could build Night City up to be super cool and do like a couple games in it at least before you get a refresh.
Yeah. It is a massive place, right? You could do all kinds of stuff in there. I'm always surprised by that
you could,
too.
Like, literally do the same game, just a different MSQ and different missions. I mean, I'd buy it.
It would still be awesome.
It'd still be awesome. Yeah. I wonder why more. I mean, I think there's probably a feeling from players that if there's not all new environments, you're getting ripped off or something. But I don't know.
Well, I'm like, that's why I'm saying, like, I don't like, that's why the word about Yakuza needs to get out. Yakuza is like the same level every game. Like, there's 10 games and and like there's less levels than there are games. Is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But what they do, because it's like Ottawa, where I live in, it's the same city every year. But if there were new adventures every year, there'd be changes. That restaurant would be closed down.
New adventures in Ottawa. I love it.
You could set a game in Ottawa every year, and things change.
There should be a Canadian version of Yakuza.
What would you call it?
Just, I don't know.
Red Green show.
I mean,
knocking around.
What do you have that's like? You guys have some kind of underground crime or something? Don't you?
Like a crime? No. I think it's
It doesn't have to be Yakuza equivalent, but I mean the same idea where it's set in a Canadian city and it's always that Canadian city.
The biker gangs are the big ones of lore for us, like the Outlaws and the other one, Hell's Angels. They're still big here, but
sure.
No, there isn't like a Yakuza equivalent or an American. You guys got all your crime families, like
yeah.
There isn't like let's do some crime, eh? Like there isn't anything like that.
That should be the name of it. Let's do some crime, eh?
Get some poutine cheese curds.
Like
I
would probably if I picked, I would probably just take like rural, Quebecers, rural Ontarians. Like there's something you could do, but I don't think I'd hang it specifically on like a crime thing.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't sound like you got like a dastardly reputation style crime.
We're culturally pretty like lame. Like I gotta be honest with you. Like a lot of Canadians listening probably not gonna like hearing me say that, but we got the hockey thing. They like hockey, but mostly we watch American shit or international shit.
We kind of like you guys. That the reason we like you so much, I think, is because you kind of don't have some. You don't have some axe to grind. You don't have some chip on your shoulder. You're just like...
It's true. We are very chill like that. It's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. You're not hyper competitive like we are. There's a lot of things I admire about
Canadian. There are definitely regional things about stuff, For sure, Quebecers are a species unto their own. And I mean that with love. But, if you go to Quebec, all the French has to be 4 times the size as the English text and signs. That's the law there.
Yeah.
But it's like... But don't we have, it's just so weird that they get so much, French get so much preferential treatment in Quebec. Like imagine you go to Albuquerque and all the signs have to be in Spanish, like.
That would be weird. Yeah, that would be weird.
That's what Quebec's like. It's so weird.
I mean, there are a lot of local ordinance things, but it's usually very local, like,
Yeah, and if you opened a restaurant and you put an English sign up, like you'd get sued by the government for having an illegal sign. You got to put French in 4 times bigger font than
And that same government will deliver weed to my house, is my understanding, right?
We have pot everywhere now, but you guys have that too in some places.
Sort of. I mean, it's only legal in, I forget how many states now. It's like 20 states.
Legal here.
Yeah, legal in Arizona, of all places. If it's illegal in there, or if it's legal in Arizona, I swear Utah will get it eventually.
You guys will get there. Yeah, but I think what it is, you really have the melting pot. Like we do too, but it's just not. It's not as culturally like. I don't know. Maybe I just don't pay attention to Canada shit at all. But it's just not as relevant, I suppose, or as pronounced.
Well, you guys make a lot of video games up there. Most of Ubisoft's stuff is up there. It's up in Montreal, so.
But I don't know. Like that's why I've always thought, what kind of Canadian movie? Like, what's our Yakuza? What's our Godfather?
Well, chat has. I don't think this was necessarily the suggestion, but it's what I took from it. They suggested the name Yakuza.
Yakuza. I love it, dude.
I like it.
I like that a lot. That's fantastic. Maybe the closest thing you have is Degrassi Junior High. Maybe that's your.
That is, I mean, there's a couple of definitely pinnacle Canada shows. Degrassi's among them.
Yeah.
But I just mean like stuff that's culturally Canadian. Aside from Mounties, and there's never been a cool show about Mounties ever made.
Dudley Do-Right.
Dudley Do-Right was fun, but I was also a kid, and it's probably bad.
I mean, as like a thing. You might have a movie here or there. What I'm trying to say is it's not like,
Yeah, Strange Brews.
Can you think of any cool like, oh shit, you guys have like these? Like we There's a lot of wrestlers from Canada.
Yeah, we learned that today.
Yeah.
All the actors go to the United States. There's,
That's true, but they just blend right
tend to be
in.
Americans.
They
Yeah,
just blend right in.
in.
Yeah, it's like the Australians do real good with that too because they fake our accents.
Realistically, we're like taking so many jobs from American actors. It's kind of crazy.
I love it.
You guys should be mad about that.
Yeah. Gonna build a wall up there. Watch out. It's coming. Well, all right. There's that. Also, we watched the State of Play. We mentioned that. And the reason we're not going to spend a ton of time on it today is because we did that already. We watched it live and reacted to it. I put it up on all the feeds, both audio and video. It's all out there to see and hear. So you will know exactly what we thought or think about what's going on with the State of Play. And there was some interesting stuff in there. It was all very brief, but overall, I think it was a fairly strong showing.
Yeah, it was one of those weird things where it's like I thought everything they showed looked good and solid, but there was so much speculation prior to it coming out that I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed because people were throwing out wild ideas of what they thought was gonna hit.
Yeah.
And so I watched it and I was like, none of this looked bad, but then it also didn't include like a new Resident Evil or DLC for Spider-Man or any of the other things that were getting thrown around as speculation that might appear there. So I don't know. I'm curious what people ultimately thought of it because I thought when you take it for what it is, it seemed like a really good showing. When you take it for what it could have been, yeah, I probably wish there was more to it.
Yeah, other than the new Ghost game, which was the big reveal at the end, there really wasn't anything too crazy new. A lot of remaster announcements, some games we haven't seen, a lot of them multi-platform, so it's arguable that it wasn't really a Sony thing. But then no DLC or no Spider-Man talk at all. That surprised me. I expected something there. I think a lot of people did because I read it all over the internet, but I felt like not having anything to say about the Spider-Man game or any DLC or anything with Marvel stuff, that's just surprised me. There was nothing. Big empty hole in my Sony heart. What else we got here? Oh, Jason Schreier's new book, Play Nice, which comes out on the 8th of October. Pre-ordered it on Kindle myself because I am dying to read it. Pre-Endle.
I pre-ordered the paperback. So
good.
We'll probably have it around the same time.
We're
going to do a book club thing on this thing.
We should do. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just about to finish a pretty cool book about a haunted.
If we're all going to read it, we should do like a spoiler cut. Like we should all read it.
Book club.
Do a show.
Book club.
Yeah, core book club. Anyone else out there want to get on it? Because we're going to read it. It reveals a bunch of things in a new excerpt, which talks about Mike Morhaime. He tried to quit as early as 2017. That it did end up happening later. I guess
eventually
2018.
2018.
Yeah, 2018 was the year I was there that he did the whole. They tried to give him a goodbye message out in the audience. It didn't work, and he was confused. That was really weird. Everything about that was.
Well,
weird.
it explains that a little bit. Nobody wanted him. The people there didn't want him to go. The workers.
Yeah, everyone likes Mike.
Bobby Kotick and his retinue of demons didn't want him to go. Nobody wanted him to go. And he had to make the right decision for himself. And I guess what I found interesting was that he was already trying to leave.
Yeah.
And, if someone's heart's not in something, like it explains a lot about the progression of how things progressed. Because we were just talking about this with Ubisoft and how, changes at the top. And he was like, I need a change.
Yeah.
20 years there. See the writing on the wall with how things are going. He wants out. He's trying to get out, and people are guilting him into staying.
And they're fighting. Him and Kotick are fighting constantly. He had it with that.
Yeah.
So he was
even I'm sure Kotick recognizes he's a part of the special suit that gives Blizzard its value. So it's like they want him there to be a peon. They don't.
Well,
want
it's
to have
funny. Yeah, it's funny though that they recognize it, but at the same time, the reason he wanted to leave was he was sick of trying to keep them out.
Yeah.
And that was the long-standing conspiracy theory for so long. Like people were just, he's trying to keep Activision out, and people would go, no, there's no way that's true. Well, turns out that's exactly what. It's
exactly what he was trying to do. You always kind of got a feeling that was probably correct, but I don't know.
You always I know a lot of people don't, but we have a lot of hot takes and say a lot of spicy things, but you don't know unless you really know. Yeah. It's all just guessing, maybe educated guessing, call it what you want. That's why this book is nice, because if he's talking to sources, it's going to put some things that we're just guessing at the end of the day. Maybe give it some confirmation, and it's nice to just. I mean, as invested Blizzard gamers, it's nice to know what's going on.
Yeah,
so you know how to feel about things.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like there's going to be a lot in here. There probably will not be
328 page book, and I was like, this is like what 3 pages,
Yeah.
3 or 4 pages from the book, and it was pretty good. I was like, oh damn.
Yeah,
You know,
there'll be a lot in here. Probably a lot of names getting thrown out, and I know
300 sources apparently. I was surprised he actually got that many people to open up. So there's gonna be given his reputation, I think it's gonna be a pretty well fleshed out, good read.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So we will check it out and do our little fun little book club around it. We'll see how it goes. Pulling a reverse Sony, Meta announced a Quest 3S. That's right, a middle tier version of the 3 that actually looks pretty good. It's like lighter, smaller, more compact, has better battery life.
The only difference, as far as the early reviews I watched on it are, is that it's not using the pancake lenses, it's using Fresnel lenses. So they're technically smaller, and not quite as good. But the Quest 2 is fine. Like my mom has it right now. It's fine. Like you can VR in it just fine. You have more like peripheral vision basically with the pancake lenses.
Yeah.
So I like calling this a reverse Sony, because Sony was like, here's a better version of what we released, and Meta was like, here's a worse version but more affordable, which is like kind of what you want to do. I'm like, we can say what you want about Zuck. I am just glad he's paving the way for everybody to try and get this in as many households as possible, to normalize it a little bit and to push the scene forward.
But did he have to wear a T-shirt that talks about himself? Did he have to wear that?
No, he's awkward as hell. Like I know he's trying to Steve Jobs this thing, but Steve Jobs is he. He's at least embracing some of the goofiness on it, but he's still I don't know. It's like,
do you know who
you
would never
want to believe everyone's capable of gaining some charisma?
Sure.
And then you're just like, this guy just can't do it.
The last guy on the planet that would have ever worn a shirt that said something about himself would have been Steve Jobs. So it's just a weird ass thing for Zuckerberg to do. Like, overall, I agree with you. He's like trying to be that charismatic stage dude. He's sick of everybody telling him what to do over the last bunch of years. So he's like wanting to be all rogue now. I understand all those motivations. Don't wear a shirt that has like something about you on it. Zuckerberg's awesome, or whatever it says.
He's just not. It just betrays that he's not a humble person, even though he's trying to come across as humble and I'm one of you. And here's this cool thing. He obviously feels he's he's the Zuck. And it's just like he's not coming. Hasn't figured that out yet to just be normal.
I will probably get this one though, because $2.99 is back to where I like it. And I know that's the smaller storage one, but I don't know that I care that much because I can install and reinstall and all that. That was my biggest problem with the 3 is like they just got rid of the affordabilities, and this has some nice stuff around it, so I might do it.
It is, but again, as a 3 owner and a big fan, those pancake lenses are a real game changer.
Yeah,
in terms of periphery, I really like, especially now that I have prescription lenses, I can take off my glasses.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I'm more in it, if that makes sense, because it's more, there's less black around the edges that make you you learn to ignore them, but it's still a less good experience. But I mean, if money's an issue and it's a choice between the 2. By the way, the 3 has gone down in price as well.
It did. They're
lowering the price of the 3 to $500 American
instead of $6. It's $100 off.
So that's also. Also great, like it's cool. But yeah, no, there isn't. If you have a Quest 3, basically, you don't have a reason to buy anything. That was my big concern. I'm like, did they improve anything on the cheap one? Do I have to get it?
Better battery life, isn't it? Something like that. Better battery.
Yeah, but mine's plugged in a lot, and I've got a docking station. So I mean, I use it for a couple hours, just dock it. It's whatever.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about those weird glasses they showed off? Their AR glasses.
I didn't get a chance to watch that.
Oh, you should watch them. It's a little weird. They're very thick. My biggest problem with all this stuff is it's just too big and heavy, and that's VR or AR or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just such a big. They make you look like the guy that used to do all the games in Chicago, Harry Carey glasses. You guys know who I'm talking about?
Hey Norm.
Hey Norm.
That's all I think of. Is
how many hot dogs?
Oh yeah, no, they look like orthodontics basically.
Yeah.
Hey Norm. Do you like hot dogs?
One of the best eras of stuff ever on SNL. I love that so much. Yeah, they're just a little too thick, but I like the direction. He basically said we still can't get the components cheap enough to make them consumer ready, but there's some
I
neat
just wonder
stuff.
where they can't offload some processing into like a cell phone, like an armband, something you put on an armband or a pocket. You know? But
Yeah, that'd be
like I
cool.
said, that looks weird too, having a wire like that.
Well, this one, which is the one that has something you have to carry around? It's like a puck, and it's wireless, but it's a puck in your pocket. It's about the size of a fat finger, someone said. I think it's these.
Is it the NVIDIA one? Or there is a puck for this one. I didn't even.
Yeah, there's some kind of puck thing. It's wireless, but you got to carry around this like cylindrical thing in your pants. In addition to the other cylindrical things you might have in your pants.
It might be the NVIDIA. Oh no, I see it. Yeah, I'm looking at it. This has a puck. It's the Meta one. I'm looking at a video right now.
Yeah, Meta puck. No cable though. That's cool.
Oh, so there's both, and it's still got to be that thick.
I watched him play. So in this demo video, he plays Pong with somebody, and the way the Pong works, it's like 3D Pong. So you're in the real world, but in your screen, you're like smacking at a square thing that's just like flying across a room. You got to position yourself to hit it, and I don't know. Seems silly to me, but I'm also of the opinion that when these things get to be the size of just regular small glasses, then we're going to have some.
I mean, these are the stepping stones to get to our Star Trek future, where we're just calling each other up on the holodeck. You know, like
that's right. We're getting there. An AI voice control built in. All right, moving on.
Yeah, please stop. Sorry, not you. Just let's just stop using the term AI.
I know.
I'm so sick of hearing the word AI.
They're not doing themselves any favors. People are sick of it. Like, just say it has really good voice commands. Done. And then the proof will be in the pudding. People will get it at home and go, oh, this really is responsive and good. Who cares if it's AI? Whatever. Just call it really good voice over, really good control with your voice, or whatever the AI integration. Quit telling me like
the feature is. Yeah.
Quit saying like, oh, and it's AI driven. Shut up. I know when I'm being pandered to, damn it. All of you need to knock it off. All these companies, knock it off. All right?
Yeah, the problem is that the randos out there that aren't plugged in they haven't caught up to being sick of AI yet. That still sounds like rich Corinthian leather to them.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. That's my parents' version of this. Rich Corinthian leather. What a load that was. It was like the worst like knockoff freaking material, and it cracked like crazy. My dad had a car that was it Lincoln that did it? Who was the car brand? Montalban would come out and go, rich Corinthian leather. Was it Buick?
I don't know.
Whatever it was, the car, we had one, and that stuff cracked within the first 4 months and we had it duct taped together. It was bullshit. Anyway, there's that. Space Marine patch. First Space Marine 2 patch hit. I put all those words in a blender. They're fixing veteran difficulty specifically for single player. Bo, you must be excited. They listened.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't tried it out yet, but like I did say, like once the patch comes, I'll give the game a try. So I was stoked that they literally put that line in, because I'm like, oh, they've acknowledged some problems with veteran.
Maybe they saw your review.
Yeah, I actually would say people go check out the patch notes, because I know Bo, I think he put this in here because that certainly seems like tailor-made for him. Yeah. Like, you want the big headline, in my opinion. You can now solo queue with AI for the operations portion of the game. So there's a whole campaign outside of the main story campaign that was available multiplayer only. Or you could, if you unplugged your internet connection, you could go in by yourself and just try to solo it all by your lonesome. They have now created an option where you can go in with just your friends and AI filling if you don't have a full group, or you can just go in and use AI to fill it. There's a lot of really cool additions in this patch. A lot of like scaling options, a lot of AI tweaks for, I don't know, people who might have been critical of the AI in the game, where they're letting your companions now help more with objectives and whatnot. So I actually think this is going to feel really, really good. I had uninstalled Space Marine 2 because I beat the game. I felt really good about it. I love the game, but I was like, well, I don't really want to do multiplayer stuff, so I guess I'm done. This is going to get me to reinstall it, because I think what's going to be in here is going to should feel, according to the text, considerably better than what I played previously, and I really liked the game before.
Rumor is too, you might run into Henry Cavill in the multiplayer mode, so watch for him in there. That's it. He's playing.
Maybe, yeah. He's been playing it.
He's into
might run into Henry.
Yeah, old Henry Cavill
in there doing his business.
Just don't call him Superman.
I'm multiplayer. I'm going to go as Henry here.
Just don't call him Superman. He doesn't like that, or maybe he does. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I made that up. This is how rumors start. I shouldn't do that.
I would like to be called Superman, but no one will ever confuse me for that character.
No. But here's the thing. Maybe Lex Luthor, though. You got a Luthor vibe about you.
Yeah, okay. I'll settle for Lex. If I can't be Superman, I'll be Lex Luthor then.
That's right, He-Man. Oh, no, that's Skeletor. Whoops. I got my cartoon villains mixed up. All right. Well, thank you, Space Marine. They heard us, and they're making changes. Watch for that. We're going to take a break. When we come back from the break, we got a Dear Martha all queued up from a guy named Troll Dan. I'm a little worried about that, but we'll see how John deals with it. Anyway, after that, we got our weekend gaming and a few other little bits and bobs. So come back. We'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned.
Awesome.
Bring us back to where we live.
Cheers, everyone. I have a nice coffee.
Oh, very nice. Welcome back, everybody. Bo's got a nice coffee. We have a moment together again, and we're going to do Dear Martha. Now, the way this thing works is we ask you guys to send in some kind of little short, quippy question for the dude that's married to Dear Martha to write home about. We don't always know his name until we hear it. So this week's we have this, John. Troll Dan wrote in, says, Dear Martha's husband, I'm sick of battle passes. How do battle passes look from the front lines? Write home to your nice wife about it, says Troll Dan. So yeah,
I feel like we've done this one before, but maybe that was for maybe that wasn't battle passes. Maybe that was like live service games.
Oh, maybe.
You probably referenced battle
people
passes
get a little get wild with your Dear Marthas. I want to see some wild Dear Marthas. Yeah. Get out there.
Go nuts. For now,
go nuts.
For now, we'll do this one. So enjoy.
My dearest Martha. Today, war is different. Some might say better. I like to say it's now objective-driven. Instead of going out on the battle lines and trying to win battles, it's about getting points so that we can get various things from the community shop that we have on base. Yesterday, I killed a man. Shouldn't have made me laugh, but it did. Yesterday, I killed a man. And for that, I was able to buy a nice little stuffed bear that I could strap to the end of my gun.
Nice.
Tomorrow, if we take 7 different ridges in one battle, I might be able to get some new colors for our tanks. And this is very exciting to me. Honestly, it's motivated the men in a way that you couldn't imagine. Before, it was like, come on, guys, let's go march. Let's go shoot our guns. Let's go do what we gotta do, and nobody cared. But now that we can do an itemized checklist for clear objectives, hell, Reginald, he's dressed up like rookie cop Leon S. Kennedy from Resident Evil now. He looks sharper than the rest of us. Makes me want to get out there and blow up a tank myself. Anyway, Martha, I don't expect I'll ever be home again because by the time we're done with one set of goals, they're going to put out another. But this is a fair battle pass because we earn enough currency to pay for the next battle pass by the time it comes out. It's not like Overwatch 2. Yours in this life and the next.
Oh, man.
Monetized to hell.
I'm glad you got the original monetized to hell without having to put a number on it. That's fantastic.
Well, the 2 is the number 2.
Oh.
Hey, that was among one of the best.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Like, I always find them amusing, but the laughs were.
You know what's
half a minute? That was really good.
That was really good.
I like the idea that I'm able to buy a pink bunny for my gun.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you're actually being encouraged to kill.
For real war.
You're supposed to kill enough people, and then you get a little bunny for your gun. Is an insane idea, but it's true. That's how we do these things.
That's how
you get rewarded.
Work. Can you imagine the U.S. military is like, join the military, and if you get enough kills, you can get a bunny rabbit.
We got a point shop.
Yep.
U.S. military now is a battle pass. Join today.
That was really good. All right. Well, let's get this going into the next phase of our life, which is games that we played. So let's start with some joint stuff. Both Bo and I raided on the same raid team, 25-man raid team.
Yeah, we did.
Taking on Spider Lady Queen Palace unit. I forgot the
Queen
name.
Ansterek.
Yep, that's her. She's a real pain in the ass. I tanked, Bo spanked, and you're also getting nerfed this week, so enjoy that.
It's 3%, whatever. Also, it's funny about the nerf. Like, you showed me the stats. Like, look, Fury Warrior is great. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I did very little DPS. That might change this week, but I'm going to not feel nerfed considering my DPS was so low because I was still gearing. So,
yeah. Well, we have a guy on
I
our
liked
team.
the way Scott was so supportive. Like, I saw it was in our Discord, just our personal one. Scott posts like, Bo, you're doing really great. And he posted what was obviously like a DPS tracker. Very familiar with this from playing WoW.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, is that a log? Is that a log of their raid? How did they do? And I clicked it. He didn't send a log of what Bo did. He sent a log of how classes are doing in general across the board. And Fury Warrior was very high up. And he's like, you're doing great, Bo.
Yeah, you did great.
That's very reassuring.
I didn't perform that well at all. So I'm going to have more damage next week for sure.
Well, the guy...
Now I level 608, baby.
The guy that... you're ahead of me then. I just barely hit 600.
I've been playing a lot of Warcraft this week.
Yeah, I have too, but the problem I get into is I get real distracted, and I've been doing a lot of alt stuff, so I probably could be...
I have not. I'm a one character Andy or whatever they want to call it. So
that works.
Grinded on my main.
But our guy that got top DPS, I'm sorry I forgot his name, but he was using the controller mod the whole time, and he still tops DPS. He's using it's basically a controller mod that makes the game behave like Final Fantasy 14 does with a controller. It's really good. In fact, on the latest instance, Patrick did a thing for it. It's really cool. It's actually rad. I wish Blizzard would just put it in themselves, but apparently that can be done well. So congrats to him. Anyway,
especially with macros, you can put a bunch of abilities on the same macro or whatever.
Yeah. You can do a lot of shifty stuff with your triggers, and I mean, I really liked how FF14 played with it. But it is the raid's fun. We did better than we all expected. Enough experience on that team to get us pretty much one shot all the way up to the
I slept
fifth
through the
boss.
first three bosses.
Oh yeah, Bo came late. That's right.
Speaking of skipping trash, John, Mom made a lasagna and I fell asleep.
Yep. And he skipped both trash and bosses worth that had loot. Unfortunately,
the first three. Wake me up when the exciting ones start.
But we got to 7, which is the Silken Court thing, which is a huge pain in the ass. But that's where we ended, and we played.
We're gonna get it this week, though. I played it.
That's nice. That's good progress.
Yeah, we did really good. Yeah,
that is uncommonly good progress.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone's gonna have better gear probably by next raid, and I did it in LFR this week because the third wing is out, and now I have a good sense.
Yeah.
I think the thing that was messing us up was just the damn charge.
Yeah,
I don't quite clear how we're supposed to duck the charge, but if the charge goes through, everyone insta dies almost.
It's a lot of damage when that happens, and I think it's more of a. I mean, it's obviously a lot of pressure on the healers, but I think better gear will help everybody survive that a bit more.
He can get stuck if he gets caught in the web or something. I think he stops charging and then it saves everyone the damage. Just figuring that out, I think, is all we need to do.
Yeah, super fun though, and I no longer fear tanking. I felt really good about my night, and I'm feeling confident. So.
You good with swapping? It's always the swapping. It's always the meta game. At least there's a lot of that in SOD, especially in Sunken Temple, where it's I got 2 stacks, take them.
Yeah.
But I don't walk away because you're going to face them in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
The tank's got to come, establish threat, then you can walk out of the way and, do things.
And none of these fights so far are too crazy, so it's kind of in every tank's wheelhouse to get it done. But Bobby and I are communicating. We have, pretty good dance going. I just felt better. I think tanking many heroics over 2 weeks' time, it was all the prep I really needed. It was fine. So anyway,
the only really new thing from solo tanking in a dungeon is just the swap mechanics.
Yeah, that's really it.
They do it all the time. At least if new SOD raids were any indication, every boss fight had a swap mechanic almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and where to kite people and junk like that. But other than that, it was pretty straightforward. We had a great time, great group, super fun group. Really looking forward to Friday night. So
I'm looking
More of
forward
that.
to it too, but mainly because I want to do better than last week. my DPS was very bad.
Well,
You want to do better than sleeping through 3 bosses?
That too. I'll be there. I'll be there the whole time this time.
Sweet. Sweet. We only started dying when Bo got there. Just kidding. That's not true. It's not true at all.
No. We cleared 3 bosses before we started dying. It was boss number 7 or 8 that got us.
Yeah, 7 is rough. I think 8 is her. It's the final one. And I've seen we did the story version of her demise is out now, so you can just go kind of experience it. And there's whole story stuff. Kind of finishes the quest more than anything, but and it's for people who don't raid. And I went and ran that, and I realized that they gave me a very easy version of it. But the stuff she does, even in that mode, I'm dreading it. It's a mess. There's shit.
I've tried it in LFR actually.
Yeah.
So you've seen a video of it? Or?
I played the story mode, and so it's got 2 levels you have to deal with. She does that crazy like multi-web zap thing where all the webs hit everybody at the same time. Like it just seems like chaos.
Yeah, she webs people and yoinks them Spider-Man style. But what's really funny about it is she also yoinks the corpses around if you die.
Yeah.
So there'll also be a bunch of corpses just flying around. It's actually kind of hilarious.
Yeah, and they have no physics, so it's like just the lay down position of a dead character getting thrown around. It just doesn't look right. But anyway, it's super fun. I think that raid is good, and we're having a good time. So can't wait to see core. And oh, by the way, it's for the core guild, so it's all around the show. And our team is called the Core Within. See, like the War Within, but the Core Within. Yeah.
And it's a core, so it's also usually in something.
Yeah.
So
and we talked about John a
triple
lot.
entendre.
Anytime there was like any kind of like trash stuff, we all talked about John every time. Every time that came up.
Oh, yeah. John was like the number 1 topic of conversation.
Yeah.
I think.
Good to be infamous, I guess.
Like, where do you think John would be right now? And I'm like, way over there, invisible, not doing nothing. And
There are big boss corpse that I can hide inside.
Even in SOD, like one of the top conversations, because it was a conversation series, how do we get John to join us? People want you to play WoW, and
that is
I'm always like,
because
it's
I'm
not
the
happening.
worst
I've talked to
person
John every
to
week.
raid with.
But you're fun. You're funny. You're fun to have along. You're the bard.
No, it was raiding with John that made me decide to ask John to do other like content creation stuff. That's where it came from.
I mean,
because he was cracking us up. He is funny in raid, and I was like, well, I'll bet he's funny on the air. And he was.
Even if you're genuinely like, I don't want to be here, but everyone guilted me to be here. Everyone would be okay with that. They'd be like, yeah, it's cool. Like they wouldn't feel bad. They'd just be happy you're there.
Yeah.
Well, you guys get the 8th clear, and maybe I'll show up for a run.
You do some farming.
Get it
runs.
on farm, and then I'll
get it on farm, and I'll take my carry.
Yeah, I can't even give you crap for that. I used to do that all the time.
I'm fine with
that. I'll just be honest about it.
Yeah.
There's no reason to lie.
No. I pretend. Just be there. I get it. Don't worry, we'll have big invisible corpses you can clip through and hide in. It'll be great.
Nice.
Let's see. I also played a couple of games this week. I played go ahead.
I had a few questions. I just had some more WoW questions
go ahead.
before you move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
How are you doing on delves? What's up? What's going on with delves?
Still delving. I got a couple of nice upgrades out of delves this week. The problem I had was the underwater one where you got to fight the guy with the tentacles at the end. On tier 8, on tier 1 through 3, he doesn't do anything. You just fight him and you DPS him down. He's done. But in tiers like 6 through 8, he spawns these big Yogg-Saron looking tentacles that pop up and through the earth, and they are really hard.
I know what you're talking. You gotta kill them. You can't let those.
You can't let them stay, right? So what I would try to do. The problem is I'm tanking in there, which usually means I'm going to live well in there. But if I DPS, I die even quicker. So it was like. Just this, I think that one's just tuned a little high on the difficulty. I got wrecked you get what, 4 lives, whatever it is?
5, but
5,
but 4, because you don't want to end with 0. So kind of you don't want to die 5 times. Anyways.
Yeah. So I had to get out before the 5th die. But yeah,
you just get less stuff. No, because I was doing some delves last night too, and I'm at a point where I'm like, you know what they say about underwater levels? Like they clearly missed the message. Like I like the delves, but the underwater ones can.
I'm tired of those.
Like you're running out of air all the time. Brand's yelling, and I'm like, oh my god, I hate this mechanic.
Yeah,
like,
he's always going, whew, I need a break after that one. He was like, shut up, you little turd. You're not helping me.
Get out of the way! Get out of the way!
Get out of the way!
I am out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, I always feel like I'm bickering with a spouse that doesn't talk back because it's just voice lines. But I'm always,
Yeah.
I guess that real patterns emerge between Space Marine and Delves.
Yeah.
I hate when NPCs give me shit. I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah.
I just get so mad.
I
I'm
get
like,
mad too. He's annoying as hell sometimes, but mostly I did well. I got stuff with coffer keys and improved my overall gear scores and stuff. But I got this final one where it was just like beating me to crap, and I got so close. He's always a hair between death and not, and he'll do one of those things where the tentacle protects him, so now he's immune to damage. Until I kill the tentacle.
I know. That fight is.
F
and
that.
you got to get air every now and then. You're like, okay, I got to get this tentacle. Yeah, you're running out of air.
Yeah.
And you're like, ah.
The good news is this: if you go buy one of those flasks of unending breath or whatever it is from, I can't remember where you get them, some other zone. Those will help you with the breath problem. Or if you're undead, obviously you don't have to deal with it. But I can't do that with my dude. My what's he called?
I mean, it's a laziness thing. There's probably solutions out there. You could probably buy water breathing pots.
Yeah.
Shaman can they still water breathe?
Shaman, I think Shaman can make something. Undead can do it naturally. But my whole thing at the end of it all was I do think they are much more soloable than they were before the patches. I think that they are leaning into this should be a place for solo players who want to gear up to go. And I like that focus. So it's no longer an advantage really to go in there with a bunch of friends because it scales up pretty hard now, and you all die.
But even still solo, there's still some one shots, and they really
there's
some
moments.
of them are not. Some of them are ridiculous. So there's a mushroom. There's a guy who spawns polyps all the time.
You have to run past.
And
You have to be.
You have to run around them. Like I got popped. Like because I didn't realize.
I hate that fight. It's the only one I've had to do twice too. I'm just like,
well, and I play melee, so. Whenever the polyps come up, I learned I got to run, just run around. But the window for damage is like 2 seconds.
It's too slow. Yeah, there's not enough.
So it's like it takes like 50 times longer than it needs to.
The tentacles the same problem though, right? Like the tentacles are as soon as I get them down, they're up again. Like I don't have any time. So I don't know. Some of that stuff.
I think that all that stuff, the timers on it need to give a few more seconds breathing room. Because I beat Zekfir last night,
nice
solo,
job.
And
jeez.
That stupid spider he spawns, it's like constantly it's constantly a threat. So like the chief mechanic like that you don't want to die to because you'll die is he shits out something that makes like a web wrap. And it has like maybe a 10-second like cooldown, and you got to kill it in that 10 seconds. If you don't, it spawns a spider, which has 2 shitty features. One, it has a ton of health. And 2, it has a spell that webs you for 5 seconds, and I swear it amplifies damage too.
5
so you're basically
seconds.
Dead.
It's so long, you guys.
5 seconds. It is so long. Zekfir, gets you. Now you can save your you can interrupt. As a Fury Warrior, I've got both Pummel and I have Shockwave spec'd out, so I have 2 interrupts for the spider. But the spider has a ton of health, and meanwhile, Zekfir doesn't stop. Pounding your ass while you're trying to deal with the spider. Yeah. Half the time, his hitbox is so big, I accidentally misclick on Zekfir's hitbox, and I'm like, I'm not damaging the spider.
Yeah.
That fight, it took me I think total 20 attempts over the course of the week. They need to loosen up on all the fights, just how fast some of those mechanics are coming at you because you have no damage windows where you're just like, okay, now I get a damage phase because I beat the mechanics. Give me a damage window.
And that stuff is killing Bran left and right. That dude is not surviving. He's always standing
Yeah, that's
there.
the other thing I find a little unfortunate is how squishy Bran can end up being. It's not like he's great about avoiding mechanics. In fact, I wouldn't even describe him as good.
No, he just stands mechanics. He stands in it every time.
It sort of turns into a thing with a lot of bosses I've found where it's like, okay, well, I will enjoy half this fight with Bran, and then the other half I'm going to have to do by myself.
Yeah. Yep. He's a pain in the bum.
I haven't had those problems as if you're melee, you get all the threat, but so he never dies for me. But
See, he
all the
doesn't
time.
get any threat for me either, but like he just stands in the shit.
I'm with you.
Like he just gets pummeled by like the mushroom was one of the big ones. He would get blown up by the spores, and then it would do that little spinny thing, and he'd get stuck in the spinny thing. And once he goes down, then it just becomes he's just always down at that point.
There's times I don't know what's killing him. Like he's just getting in the way of something. I'm tanking. I have all the threat, and he's off somewhere going, "Oh, that's it for me then." And he's got a red spotlight on him like I can do anything about it. What am I going to do? Click him for the 12-second freaking cooldown it is clicking him? Forget it. Just wait for him to... Anyway, these are all
tried
valid
doing
complaints.
it in Holy Spec?
I have not. Right? Yeah, I haven't tried Holy Spec at all.
Actually, do you get a heal even as tank?
I do. Yeah. I have some that proc a bunch and that are good. I forgot the name of it, but basically it will proc and then do a big portion of my health. I also have one what's it, laying on of hands, that'll do a full. Lay on hands. And then I have the regular.
Usually, you're not paying attention to them and with the mechanics. So
yeah, I have a flash heal that I can spec to be more instant, but it has a little bit of a thing. So
I definitely spec'd out of like DPS to take tanking talents.
Yeah,
just for delves. Like it helps. Like there's a whole talent that gives you 10% more armor, and it's actually like a meaning when things are hitting you for 3 million. You know, shaving off even like a couple 100,000 makes a big difference.
Yeah,
you know,
they were all worth it though, because in the end I got a really good vault pick from the vault this week on Monday, so that worked out good. I got some shoulders that really pushed.
Yeah, the vault's nice. Yeah. No. That's why I kept doing delves. It's really good gear. Like it's all 603, 3 of 8 champion gear.
Yeah. Don't make my mistake though.
I'm fully spec'd out now.
Don't make my mistake and go try tier 9 or 10, because you can do that, but you get nothing over a tier 8. Extra. Yeah, there's no point in punishing yourself.
I did a tier 9 and then I tried tier 10. I went, well, let me get some more items first.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems it's a little insane. 8 is already kind of crazy, but anyway, that's what's going on in WoW. There's also a new episode of the Instance Up. We did it earlier this week, Tuesday, I guess, or Wednesday, whatever. No, Tuesday. It was
great.
It was a good episode. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. So if you guys want to hear that one, go check it out, frogpants.com/instance, and get the podcast wherever you get it. All right, I played a little indie game that Dunaway turned me on to, which will not surprise anyone, because this thing is retro as hell in its in its makeup. It basically is the recreation of the old Vector style games. It's all very vectory and glowy and
oh geez. Cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It reminds me of like, I don't know, Tempest and that kind of stuff, Asteroids, that kind of era. And it's very cool. At first I thought it was a ripoff of like Missile Command, but it's not that at all. It's like this okay. There's a bunch of game mechanics here. There are asteroids coming at you that behave like asteroids from the game Asteroids. There are Galaga-like creatures coming at you that are basically Galaga creatures. I mean, they really are. There's Space Invaders / centipede-like things that are slowly working their way down to destroy your city. And in between every level, you get upgrades, like a higher shield or a faster railgun, or the railgun keeps up with the shots. When you go to aim, the shots actually catch up to your reticule faster. What it turns out to be is this is another attempt at taking the Vampire Survivors idea, but just applying it differently. Like, it
looks like Missile Command on crack. Like
kind of, yeah. The only difference is it's just a single gun. You don't have 3 bases shooting missiles. It's a constant constant rate of fire, although you can improve your fire later. And the upgrades remind me of like Vampire Hunters type upgrades. Like, oh, you get give me this, give me that. It's color coded, so you know which ones are better. And man, I got playing this for a really long time the other night.
Yeah, that looks cool.
It's pretty rad, and the sound's really great. It does this neat thing where the camera initially at the start of the game zooms. You're in New York City supposedly, and there's a robot voice going, New York City 2045 or whatever, some like a cool modulated 80s voice. And then the camera zooms out, and because it's vector, everything scales, and it zooms all the way out into this planetary, look of everything, and you're trying to keep everybody safe from this invasion. And the waves aren't too long, but they're challenging. The upgrades are meaningful. And it reminds me of why I think the Vampire Survivors template is a strong case, or this game makes a strong case for taking that template in different directions. It doesn't all have to be a top-down dude running around shooting shit out of himself. It can be this. It can be, numerous other ideas. And I think this one is very, very cool. The vibe is awesome. Let me see if I can play that voice. You got to hear this voice. Hold on. Here it is. Okay, listen to this. I mean, how cool is that?
That's awesome. I like that.
It's really neat. So
I like that. I like vector graphics. Like, there's something even to this day when you go and you play like an original vector graphic game, just the way it is so intensely bright and like it still fascinates me. I'm still like, ooh.
Same here. To me, vector still has a magic to it that's hard to describe, and they don't really make games like this anymore. It is only $5.99. That's the other thing I really like about it. It's cheap. I would spend more time in an arcade and lose more quarters than I would over this one once. So I think it's a really good value. It's on Steam. I don't know if it's coming anywhere else, and I think it's early access currently. Actually, I can click the Steam page and tell you it is. Yes, it is an early access. $5.99 is the full price, and it is reviewing extremely well, 97% positive, and I think it deserves it. It's very cool. Check it out. Oh, I didn't even tell you the name. It's Utopia Must Fall is the name of it. And it's great. And
did you not say the name of it?
I don't think I did. Did I? Maybe.
Well, it's Utopia Must Fall. We'll just keep saying it again. Utopia
Must Fall.
Yeah, we got to remember to say the name.
Yeah,
Utopia Must Fall.
Don't forget the name. It's Utopia Must Fall. How about this one? I played a game called Beyond Galaxyland. This is so cool. This game caught me completely by surprise. I got a code. They didn't know about the 3 hosts. All right.
That's a shame because I think this game looks really cool.
This game is so cool. So
you should tell them there's 2 other hosts just in case.
At first, and I have since, I've said, hey, by the way, just in case, comes up in future, whatever, we'd love, we have 3 of us. Anyway, this thing is, by all looks of it, when I first saw it, I was just like, oh, it's another like Metroidvania, or is it? Or, okay, it's pixely, but it's also kind of modern. Like, what am I looking at here? It is so cool. I can't even do it justice with these screenshots. Let me see if I can skip ahead some.
It's like 2D pixel art in a 3D engine.
Yeah, that part is cool. What's really cool is it's turn-based combat, and I didn't expect it. It happened suddenly, and I went, oh, okay. I'm in. Let's do this. And it has some aspects of, say, Mario RPG, where hitting the button at the right time will help you get hit less or take less damage or things like that, your counters and stuff. And it also has this ability point counter thing where you spend them and earn them kind of an equal measure by successfully landing hits, and you share them as a team. So when you have multiple people on your team, there's like a cyberpunk thing happening in the beginning, and then the story gets weird because you're a character from the modern era and you get sucked into this world and you don't quite know what to do with yourself. And then it starts to feel almost like a, like Space Quest kind of adventure in a way. Lots of point and click, understand how to get out of this place sort of stuff. But then the combat goes back to turn-based, and then this presentation is just wacko. And I got so sucked into it. Like, the story is really good. Everything feels really good. The pacing's amazing. I'm not far enough to say that's it, best game of the year or anything like that. But this thing is easily one of the best indies I've played so far this year. And unless it really drops the ball later, I'm going to be impressed throughout. The story's really good. The characters are great. It's funny. There are moments I actually laughed out loud. There's for some reason you have a hamster in the beginning of it. It's like your own pet hamster. And in this cyberpunk world you get sucked into, the hamster has been made into like a man-sized hamster. And he doesn't talk, but he's on your team, so he's one of your turn-based fighter team. It's very weird. But these 2 robots that are talking, Marty Bot, and I forgot the name of the other bot, they're funny. The cityscapes are really cool. The way the graphics work are just a really neat effect. And I think this game's special. There's something really going on here. Really good sauce.
Yeah, this is quite a cool look.
Yeah, it's neat.
Beyond Galaxyland.
Beyond. Thank you for
There's
that.
a robot named Robort.
Robort. That's right.
Robort.
Yeah, they're not afraid to fall in or to laugh at themselves, and I really appreciate
But he
that.
typoed and said, "Keep it."
Yeah. Let's see. I was going to tell you how much it was. Land. Hold on one second. Beyond
Definitely looks like
Galaxyland
it's on the
is.
silly side, but in a good way.
It's silly, but in a kind of a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy kind of way. So there's stakes, and it feels important, story bits and stuff like that, but it's not taking itself that seriously.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's currently $11.99, cheap as hell. Working toward a overwhelmingly positive review. It's at 90 right now, but there's only 21 reviews. This thing just came out. I've been playing it since.
Oh yeah, 24 September. So it's been out 2 days.
2 days, yeah. I played it a bit before
cool.
that, but it's so cool, you guys. I'm so into it. I think this might be one of those I come back to the show and say I finished it before 2024 is out. Yeah. I wouldn't count on
ahead
it.
of ourselves.
Before Ghosts of Tsushima, you think?
Well, I'm in the mood again for that because of the new thing, but I don't know. Don't count on it, but if I was a betting man, I'd say I'm a long shot, but I might do it. I might beat it. Really into it. Oh, and I've only played it on Steam Deck so far. Oh, that's the only sucky thing. Sorry. Steam Deck version's great. No issues. It plays like a dream on Steam Deck, but it doesn't currently, I think they're working on this. It's not in there yet, but it doesn't currently have cloud saves. So I started it on Steam Deck, had such a blast. I came down here earlier today. I'm like, I'm going to get some of this in today. Fired it up. No save. And I'm like, well, shit. I could manually do something, but I'm not going to dick with it. So they'll when they put it in, they put it in. I'll play it on Steam Deck for now, but it's very neat, very controller friendly too. All right. I also played a little bit of Satisfactory 1.0. I felt like my brain was less COVID-y and I could actually get some shit done. So nothing new to say there except, Satisfactory's cool. A little more Star Trucker, and a little jet fighter game called Sky Rogue. I'll talk about it more next week, but I picked it up on the cheap. It's basically like, what's the Japanese series and the jets? And it looks amazing, but has a crazy story. Ace Combat. It's like Ace Combat, but in a more kind of retro polygon vibe, like almost Virtua Fighter looking polygons. And it's also more of a roguelike now, or this game is. So there's missions and stuff, and you sort of play, I don't know, it's like that game, but it's not like that. It's hard to explain. I'm way too early to give it a full take, but I'll mess around with that a little bit this week. And I also got Balatro on mobile, but I have not played it yet. John apparently has, so we'll get to that in a second. Speaking of which, John, let's talk about Star Wars Outlaws and why you now love that game.
No.
Oh, shit.
No, not that far.
Darn it.
Let's not overhype it.
All right.
I think Star Wars Outlaws probably has received the reception it deserves. Which is to say that it is a good game, but it could be a great game. And that's one of the things that's infuriating about it is I have spent a lot more time with it now. We got a lot of feedback when I talked about it previously, like, oh, you barely got into it. It's true. That's honest. Or it was just about to get good. And it did pick up significantly after where I was, but it both picked up and also showed some of its problems. A lot has been made of the mandatory stealth sections of that game. I'm here to say that, mandatory stealth is a bad thing. It shouldn't be in video games, and I say that as somebody who plays as a stealth character every chance he's given. It is different when the game says, hey, you have to do it this way. It feels different. The experience is different. It tends to be more frustrating. And for a game that's going to require a stealth mission, I'm thinking specifically the Imperial base that you have to stealth your way through very early on. Yeah. It's not well designed for it. I don't, as somebody who isn't a game designer, I don't often like to use the phrase it's poorly designed, but this is a genuine case of poor design. It's things like they don't teach you about the alarm system. You can figure it out, but they don't teach you it, and yet it's sometimes very pivotal or would make the difference of a restart versus not. The checkpointing isn't very good. There's a part where they give you multiple paths to get to an objective, which is great, but then once you get to that objective, there's one path that you have to take to get back, and it's very easy to get caught along that path because you would have to know that there's a patrol there, which you would only know if you took one specific path to get there. But if you didn't go that way, which I didn't, you wouldn't know that there's an enemy right there. Or that to hide from that enemy, you put yourself in the position of a camera because you didn't see any of those things. So it's one of those bits where it's like, this is extremely frustrating. There's also a part where they forcibly make you break stealth, but without telling you, like, hey, it's okay to shoot now. But they're like, all of a sudden there's just a moment where it's like, oh, somebody's going to get caught. And I'm like, well, I don't know what else to do than to like try and shoot these guys and just hope that I don't fail for it. And that's what I did. And that's what worked. But it's not like at any point they said, hey, by the way, here's a really good spot to, use your blaster. Because previously that would have gotten me caught and that would have been a game over. Nothing really changed except I moved into a different hallway and there was a forced interaction where it was now acceptable to use the gun. So there's just elements about it that's frustrating. And we talked about it a little bit earlier. As I play the game, I'm constantly thinking about it as a video game. And I'm constantly thinking like, man, I wish this was just a little better. Like getting lost in the hub city, the first hub city you get to, like all the time. And just thinking, why do we have just a generic like little icon on a compass for your map when all these places have verticality and twists and turns? Like I've never seen a game that needs like a dead space, draw a line on the ground for an objective more than this game. Like when you're in the hub cities, like it's not fun to constantly have to open a map to try and figure out where you are and where you're going. And I just was frequently hitting these like not experience breaking. It doesn't make it a bad game, but enough bumps to make me go, oh, this could be so much cooler. This could be so much better. And so that feeling constantly weighs on the experience, and unfortunately it colors the experience because on the other hand, there are lots of times where you're doing cool Star Wars stuff. Like there's stuff where you get on your ship and you take off into outer space and you fly directly to a cruiser and you dock with it, and then you go in and you meet some criminal types and do a quick little mission, then get back on your ship and head back to the planet. That stuff all feels really good, but all the stuff that's around it just feels so average. And it brings those exceptional moments kind of collectively down. I am still trying to stick with it. But if I'm being completely honest about my experience with the game, I just find myself getting bored after I've played it for about an hour. So I get in, I play it for about an hour, I have kind of an okay time, and then I just sort of find myself doing the like little like drifting, looking at the other screen more than I'm playing. Like, okay, let me look at my phone, and then I go, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be playing a video game right now, not zoning out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a bit of a bummer because I'm spending a lot of time going like, this is so close to what would be like a dream Star Wars experience.
Yeah. I mean, these environments are beautiful sometimes. And I say sometimes because it's not always beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like the graphics are so inconsistent, at times jaw-dropping, and at times you're just like, oh, what am I looking at? This is insane.
Yeah.
I do think there might have been a patch because it is playing a lot better for me than it was previously. I had a lot of technical issues out of the gate with it when I first played it, and those seem to have been cleared up. Although I did read that they were trying to remove some of the mandatory stealth missions. Whenever that's coming, that hasn't hit yet because I had two mandatory stealth sections in the time I played, which again feels like too much. And the first one wasn't that terrible, but the Imperial base in particular just felt really bad.
That felt like work. I agree with you.
Yeah.
That's an early on thing, and it felt like work to me. I think that's almost like kind of as far as I got almost. It's just after that. And I know things
It's a
pick up.
momentum killer. Like, and honestly, actually, spot on, Scott. I 100% agree with what you just said, because that is my biggest issue with the game is like you go forward and you hit these like missions that they just aren't quite as good as they could be. It feels like work. And then you go, well, I don't want to play the game anymore right now. And you walk away from it, and your last experience with the game is a negative one. So the next time you think about playing it, you're not going, yeah, I want to get back into that. You're thinking like, oh, that was that Imperial base mission. I don't want to play more of that game. I don't want to get back into this. And I did exactly that. I finished that mission and I quit out. And then I was looking for something to play the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been playing Outlaws. I loaded it up and realized like, oh right, I just saved that stupid head guy from the Imperial base. And then I almost wanted to turn it off right then, because it was just like it was just a flood of negative emotions starting the game. Like instead of like going in with momentum, it was just like, oh right, I was meeting this wacky head in a jar character, and I don't know if I want to do this. But there is fun to be had in there. There is some cool stuff in there. It's just, it feels half-baked a lot of the time.
I keep getting that when I fire it up, I get this feeling like I could go and get Cal Kestis shit going, you know? Like I could go play a more I don't even want to be all Jedi right now. Like I'm in the mood for the outlaw vibe of I'm just a person with a blaster and a weird animal, and I want to, you know, I like the concepts. That's where I would rather be spending my time. But that's just a better Star Wars experience, you know, so far.
It is, yeah, 100%. And honestly, that's a game I keep thinking about when I'm playing it, where it's like, oh, it'd be cool if they put this in the next Jedi game, because like this is a really cool Star Wars concept, but I just don't like this game package all that much.
Someone always emails me all weirded out that I say I don't want to play a game where a section of it feels like work, and I'm also the guy on the show that likes chorecore. I'll play your space delivery games and your, you know, put your car back together games and that kind of thing. If the game is mechanically gamified around taking work and gamifying it, that's not the same thing.
I think that it's the nuance, the difficulty of language between describing something as fun. Like, are you having fun?
Yeah.
If not, it feels like work.
Yeah.
But like a work game can be fun.
There you go.
Like
perfectly said.
So it's like, but I understand why you could pick at the terms. But I think we all know what Scott means, or anybody means.
Yeah. You should know what I mean.
This feels like work. It's because it really isn't that engaging. Like, I think when the graphics are really good too, you're always second guessing yourself. It's just like a psychological thing. Like, well, this looks so cool. How could it not be fun?
You're right.
Yeah.
The problem must be me, but it's actually, you know, I think with a lot of these high production games that they sort of forget that they got to make a compelling game and not be so focused on mocap and cutscenes. Like when I see Outlaws stuff, because I haven't played it, the impression I get is, wow, this looks like a really good Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
You know, like I would watch this just as a TV show without the gameplay. So did they really, you know, polish the gameplay to a point where like, we can't stop playing Star Wars Outlaws. Now let's do some mocap and ship this thing.
Yeah.
Or did they just decide, oh, we want to make a really cool Star Wars TV show and plop some gameplay in between, which has been true about a lot of IP franchise games. That's always, except they haven't looked that good, but you know, they just put them out the door with Superman on it or something. So every time I look at both, so do you recommend it, John?
Yeah. What would you say as somebody who's on the fence, John? They're like ready to pull that trigger. What do you think?
I think this game, I kind of stand by what I said with my original review. I know this is a big, everybody's talking about out of 10 rankings. I still believe the proper way to rank a video game is between 1 and 5.
Yeah.
I don't think you need anything more complicated.
John's
than
doing
that.
a side quest ranking.
Yeah, I like it.
Like let me just be clear. You don't need a 10 to get a proper ranking. So I think
you just need a 3.
I think maybe.
Yeah.
But I think this game is a 2 out of 5 game, and it's a 3 out of 5 if you like Star Wars.
Okay, I still think I like the way you've categorized that.
If you really like Star Wars, it's probably a 3. If you don't like Star Wars, it's a 2.
Yeah.
What if you really like not liking Star Wars?
That's you invert the scale,
too.
and
10 on 10.
I don't know. This isn't going to convince you Star Wars is good.
The
story is not like, that's the other thing is you would think that like a story about the criminal underworld in Star Wars would be interesting, but everything feels like, and I hate to do this because it really does bug me when everybody's like, Disney bought it and made it bad. What, like, that's a annoying topic.
It's a cop out.
But I'm not using this in conjunction with the fact that Disney owns them. This is just what it feels like. This does feel like a Disney theme park of the Star Wars underworld. Like everything feels extraordinarily safe. Your character is obviously a heart of gold rogue. Like sometimes you press upon edgy a little bit where it's like someone's like, I got a tip, who's gonna win the race if you take money and bet for me. Oh, that would be great. And you just take his money. Like that's kind of, you're like, I need this money more than you. Like that's kind of as dark as far as the character has gotten.
Dollar Store Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, it's really, really just like even, and the bad sign is like even characters comment on it. Like there's a part where they're like, she's like, I wouldn't take this job unless I know who I'm working for. And they're like, fine, then you don't get the job. And she's like, fine, I'll do it. And they're like, great, you're desperate. Like the game is even acknowledging how desperate and like fish out of water she feels in the game. And it just feels really toothless. Like there's an opening cutscene where a crime boss kills a bunch of other criminals, and that almost is like, you're like, oh, this game's going to be serious. But then so far, everything I've dealt with, everyone's sort of like, well, like, I'm a criminal, but I got a soft side.
Yeah.
You know, like,
even that scene, it felt like they were a little derivative of Dark Knight and the Joker scene, or like where he puts the pencil through the guy's head and all that, or the De Niro in The Untouchables going around the table, all his lieutenants finding out who's going to get hit with the bat. Like it's a great trope. It's a fun trope to work with, but it has no, well, I'm not at the end of the game, but it doesn't feel like it has a huge payoff. It feels like it's just like, all right. You recreated
in fact,
the
it
scene.
actually sets the stakes higher than they feel once you get into the game.
Yeah. Which is kind of a bummer. Well, John, let's move on to UFO 50. There are 50 games in there.
Oh, you did try that game. Oh.
I did pick up UFO 50. I have not played all 50 games in this, so this is going to be a discussion of the first 4 video games inside UFO 50. This game is really cool. I'll say this, like, sometimes when people make quote-unquote retro compilations of like games that supposedly happened back in the day, it doesn't always feel like that's true. It just feels like that's what they're going for.
Right.
This genuinely feels like you unearthed a bunch of NES games that didn't come out. And that's in good ways so far, and that's also in bad ways so far. So let's talk about the first game, Barbuda, which is a platforming adventure game and is so brutally, viciously, punishingly mean that I'm like, why? Why are you doing this to me? This is the first game. This is what you're going to have people experience. Like, it starts almost very Metroid-esque because you're standing on a platform. You can go left or right. Like anybody who's played Metroid, I went left first and then quickly ran out of things to do. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I go right. I took like 3 steps and I got squished and lost a life because just a rock fell on me. It's a game that you very much have to learn the visual language, which makes sense because, like, hey, this was made by the guy who made Spelunky, which is very much about learning the visual language of the world you're in.
Yeah.
So you very quickly, you have to look for little details. Like, oh, is there a crack on that wall? Well, I can probably break it then. Does that tile look different than other tiles? Well, it might be a trap. I shouldn't step on it.
Yeah.
Even to the degree of, like, everything in this game kills you. Everything is fatal. It's like you die so many times. And there's, like, acid pits that you have to jump over. But if you're really keen and observant, oh, why does that acid pit not animate, but all the others do? Oh, well, it's safe to jump in that one. And, like, it's got that old NES game logic of, like, it feels like they just wanted your rental money. It's so brutal, but it's you're having fun with it. It's slow, like an old game. And the cool thing that this game does is it has a entire fake backstory and lore for all these video games. So I can tell you that Barbuda came out in 1982. It was their first game that launched the company.
All right.
It's got a whole little profile about the game, about who made it and what it did for the company and all of that. And it's really cool that they put in these little details because it makes learning about these games that all came out in 2024 that feels like you're playing this old arcade, not arcade, but like home entertainment console collection. And again, like the big thing that feels true about it is this all feels like these could have been NES games. Yeah. And I've heard from people who've played a lot of them that some of these games could have been phenomenal NES games. I'm going to be honest with you. Of the first 4, I don't know that I would have done more than rent the first 4. None of these really stuck with me in a way where I'm like, well, I'm going to play that forever. But I did have a really good time. So I played Barbuda, which is the incredibly punishing puzzle.
Real quick, let me just add this. The thing about those old games was some of them would only take, if you knew every secret and you were proficient at it, you could beat one of those Barbuda-style games in about half an hour, if you knew it all. But but that's how they would do it back then. They would artificially pad out your $49 purchase by it being so damned freaking hard. You'd need guides. You'd go buy a magazine that had a whole spread in the back about how to do it. Like, that's how it was. They weren't necessarily there to challenge. I
saw the current speed run for Barbuda is like 4 minutes.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I'm like spending 25 minutes desperately like, I can't find anything. This is a whole inventory system and I don't even know what anything does when I pick it up.
Yeah.
So it's like even experimental. It's like I got some beads. It looked like I picked up some anal beads. And I'm like, well, what the hell does this do? And the only thing I can kind of tell that it did is there was a platform that didn't move before that now moves. And I don't know if that's because of the anal beads I picked up or if something else happened that triggered it. I don't have any idea. So that's what old NES games felt like. Yeah. So extreme points for authenticity. Yeah. I love it. The next game I played in it was Bug Hunter, which is a puzzle strategy game where you got to kill a bunch of bugs and you're given basically like cards to pick and they will let you move or shoot or jump or perform certain actions. And you can only perform the ones that are at the bottom, and you have to kill as many bugs as possible because any bugs that are still alive once you've utilized all your moves evolve into more powerful bugs.
Got it.
And so they're going to be harder to deal with. And then they let you pick new cards or replace cards to kind of build a strategy to get rid of bugs. It's very cool, but it's a lot of thinking. And I wasn't ready for it. And I was like, this is probably the most in-depth one. This one came out in 1983, by the way.
Wow.
One year later.
Wow. These are all before the NES was even a product you could buy here in the States these years. That's amazing. All right.
There's another game in there called Ninpek, which feels like 100 different arcade games that I've played. You're a ninja. Tell me if you've heard this one before. You're a ninja, and you throw ninja stars at enemies. Everything is the forced auto scroller, and you can do double jumps, and it's like bullet hell Contra coming at you. You're throwing ninja stars at enemies. You can pick up upgrades that let you throw more ninja stars faster. And when you die, you turn into a ghost, and you can shoot ghost magic while you're dead, and then you'll come back to life, and you keep going until you run out of lives. That one was actually a lot of fun, but it's
very hard.
Really hard.
Yeah, it looks hard. I'm watching it now. Is this a co-op thing? You could have 2 of you playing this?
Yes, you could do co-op. Okay. A lot of these are 2-player potential.
I noticed that they
put all of us.
Yeah, no, that'd be super fun. I noticed that they put in a little bit of that NES flicker, but not too much. It's just enough to be reminiscent, but not enough to just bug you. That's great.
Yeah.
I gotta.
Also, it's worth noting that whenever you play a game for the first time, you have to blow the dust off of the cartridge.
Shut up, dude.
Yeah, the games are all like grayed out by dust, and you have to.
And this is the Spelunky guy did all these.
Yeah.
Okay. That's wild.
The last one that I played that we'll talk about this week, this might be a recurring thing. Maybe I'll try and do 4 games each week till we're through all of UFO 50. But it's Paint Chase, which is like a driving game where your goal is to try and paint the arena as much your color as possible. But there are opposing cars that are trying to paint it their color. And so you can paint over each other's color. You can crash into their cars to blow them up so they can't paint anymore. So it's this like kind of, do I focus on eliminating their ability to paint? Or do I just try and color in as much? And then you have a goal of how much of the map you have to have colored by your paint by the time it ends.
What was that game called back in the day?
It's like Splatoon.
Like Splatoon?
Oh.
Yeah, a modern example would be Splatoon, but there was something in the back in the day where it was like, not clacks, something like that, where you had to just get as many colors. Well, basically Dig Dug 2 did this too. It was like we had to try to capture as much land as possible, and then it would fall off into the ocean. I don't remember, but I get the game type. This seems like it might be fun in small bursts.
Yeah. And that's exactly. I was like, oh, this is really fun. And then it got really hard and I got mad at the computer and was like, I'm not playing this game anymore.
Wait.
Which, a lot like NES games. Where I was like, it's really good while I'm good at it. And then when it gets hard, I'm like, I hate this game.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you, did you play? There was a first-person dungeon crawl, but also includes action fighting elements. Did you play that one yet? Because that's the one.
Ooh.
No, I haven't played
Okay,
that
so
one yet.
it's basically like a first-person dungeon crawl, but instead of picking abilities, it looks like you just push attack and you have it's like an action game. It looks sick. That was the one that appealed to me the most, and it also apparently there are sequels to games within the collection as if they existed. Yeah, that was also something that impressed me. There's like 3 games in a series in there.
Really?
Yeah, like I really should have instantly bought this. Also, Crofton was raving about it too.
Oh, here it is. Campanella, for example, has Campanella 1 and 2, Mortal 1 and 2. There's a Campanella 3.
There are sequels. There's a whole story. I think there might be some hidden Easter eggs in here.
It's basically like if you
interesting things.
You downloaded a pack of ROMs, but it's a game you can play on Steam, basically. But also, it looked like there was a Blaster Master.
Ooh, I like Blaster
Master one, which I love Blaster Master. And the one that appealed to you, Scott, is there's a space golf in this. There's some kind of
I've heard a lot of raving about. Somebody said if they combined Phantasy Star and golf, and I was like, "Ooh, I can't wait to get to that one."
Yeah,
this is the mashup. It's like Dungeon Master. You know that old first person dungeon crawl meets Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Oh,
like that's the fighting perspective. It's like it's you from the back. Clearing dungeon.
That sounds all right. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a game in here called not Party Planning. Where is it? Something House. There it is. Party House. People are raving about Party House, whatever that is. I would like to know more about that.
Well, I will play the next 4 in chronological. I'm going through the whole catalog in chronological order, the year they were released. So far, I've only covered 1982 and 1983.
Wow.
And these games all out before I was born. So I'm excited to be revisiting games that existed before I did. Mm-hmm. And I'll talk about the next 4 next week. This will be a regular check-in. And maybe if you guys pick it up, you can join me.
You know what they need to
do?
They need to get a license with the game franchise and do the Yakuza treatment with all these games. Because it reminds me of like Yakuza. Some of them have so many arcade games, and I'm like, you could just drop all these into Yakuza. It's like the same deal.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, to finish things out for John, he played Balatro on mobile. And
I have a game on my phone, you guys.
$10.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
I have a game on my phone, and it is Balatro because that game is super good. I really love it, and I was like, there are times where I'm just sitting with my phone very bored, and there's no weird little ads. There's no energy. There's no, please give us $5 for new Jokers. I spent $10.
Yep.
I think that's what it was.
It's $9.99. Yep.
And I have it. and I can play it on my phone whenever I want. It's a good version of it. It's a little small.
Yeah.
Like, and this was a thing that was a big concern for a lot of people because there's a lot of information on Balatro that they convey on the screen. It's a little small, but
for a phone, yeah. Tablet's pretty good from what I have seen. It's obviously because you got a bigger screen, but yeah, phone's a little tiny.
But
sure.
it's still good, and it plays very well. And I was like, I'm gonna just try it out real quick before the show, and I played an entire round till I lost on my first round, which was like, I think I beat like 3 bosses or whatever, and then I was like, I'm gonna start again. And I was like, no, if I do, I'm not gonna stop.
You'll just keep going. Yep, it's very good. It's on Apple Arcade as well. If you have Apple Arcade, then you just already have it. You just go play it. But if you don't sub to that or you're on Android, just grab it. It's out there. $10. Boom, you're in. Let the Balatro name wash over you like a warm breeze. Bo, Planescape Torment still tormenting you. How's it going in there?
Yeah, I've just barely started last week, even though there's lots to say about it. But I am now 32 hours into a playthrough,
Jeez.
and I'm still not done the game. However, I think, pretty far. It's hard to judge how far because I have a sense of like some of the levels where I'm at based on the world map, but dungeons are a thing, and well, you never know how long a conversation's going to last. It might actually take 2 hours to dig through some of the stuff. But yeah, no, I'm like I said last week, part of playing this is a pilgrimage to play a game that's people consider to be one of the greatest CRPGs ever made. And I can say now, having played it, I don't think it holds that title necessarily anymore in certain categories. Combat's kind of terrible, and the fact that it's not voice acting, like the fact that there is so much reading, is just not something you're going to expect in a game in 2024. It's kind of it's a lot.
Yeah, especially in the shadow of Baldur's Gate 3, it's hard to judge any of these games anymore. It's weird.
However, there's some things I've grown to appreciate that you don't necessarily hear about the game that I quite love, which is we were talking in the pre-show about the game, how Baldur's Gate 3, on some level, the NPCs are likable or you can romance them. And a lot of games are like that. Chris Avallone, who's part of it, has gone on to make many of these types of games that you know and love, like which I just can't think of at the moment. But he's had a hand in Fallout, and I think he worked on New Vegas at one point.
He was one of the co-lead on Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, he's worked on some other big ones in this genre where you go, oh, I see how like Planescape is an idea he's continued to work on. He might have even worked on KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic. I maybe. I'm not sure. I had looked it up and forgotten now that we're live on the show and talking about it. But he has like a long-standing history of games in this style, so you can kind of see the seeds of like what is developed later for these types of games. Yeah. But one thing in particular thematically about these games is described pre-show is that all your NPC companions, including the character you're playing, are basically Nash Maggard. Like the number of times I've had to rip out my eyeball, I've had my insides cut open twice now to get my intestines out, and then they're just an inventory item.
Great.
And at one point, somebody took my intestines and danced with them and did something magical with them.
Whoa. That sounds Nash as hell. He'd be into that.
Yeah. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if the main character had a nature's pocket too. Like that hasn't come up yet, but I think no, it has come up because you do actually talk about your junk, and it's surprisingly one of the few things that are not scarred.
Yeah.
It is a product of its time. There are at least 2 instances of the R word that I've uncovered in the text of this game, and I was like, oh yeah, the 90s.
Wow. All right.
But it's not like it's used like serious, like it's used by a character who's kind of crappy anyways, but still,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
All your companions. So the game's called Torment, and it's called that with very good reason, in that all your companions are suffering in some way, and they're not all together that great. They're liars, or they're just murderers. The only interesting one that's kind of on the nicer side is you have a succubus as a party member, but she's celibate.
Whoa. How's
which
that work?
causes her to suffer. Right, exactly.
Hmm.
So there's this faction in Planescape called the Sensates, and their perspective on life is you need to experience everything you can to find meaning before you die.
Well,
And so they have prostitutes, but they don't deal in sex, even though they're called prostitutes. They deal in experiences. So you meet with a woman who will like be verbally abusive to you. You can meet with a woman who will trade stories with you. You'll meet with like all there's a Medusa, Gorgon, not a Medusa. Medusa's the proper name, but there's a Gorgon who can like talk to you about like the more evil things. And so she's the it's a school for prostitutes, and she's like the main teacher, the owner of the school. And her thing is, she is from the abyss, and she is a succubus, but she's rejected her nature because she was just used as a slave, and her being celibate is her way of being free of her own nature. So she can kill a man with a kiss, and she could give birth to, infernal beings by copulating with mortals.
yeah.
But she chooses not to do any of that, and she's like, and so you exchange these philosophical conversations with her about the nature of why you would torment yourself in this way.
Yeah.
Because the game's called Torment. And
Plus,
all the
Planescape's
characters
such
are
a
tormented.
Planescape's just like a giant scab on everyone's ass anyway, right? It's like a nasty place to be. It's not just the
It's a
characters.
cynical. Yeah, it's Cyberpunk is basically Cyberpunk in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Because I always remember when John met the fish god, and John was like, "I hate this." I was like, I felt bad because I obviously want you guys to enjoy things, but at the same time, I realized I had been reading a lot of Planescape, and it's so weird to be like atheistic or agnostic, but then play in this world that has so many gods, and you realize, well, gods aren't that special; they're just giant assholes.
Yeah.
Like, whether they're from the good realm or from the bad realm, justice gods just want justice. Murder gods just want to murder all day. Like as actual people, or that you might like. They're terrible. Like they're awful. I'd rather hang out with Frank and talk about Warhammer minis than talk to talk to Buddha about Nirvana. He'd just be all day reincarnation, blah 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 blah. It's so boring. Like it'd be so boring to hang out with the Buddha.
Yeah.
Let's say. So so it's like there's this cynicism that comes with the idea that that these gods all exist, but they're just trying to take they're trying to make the physical realm, i.e. mortals, believe in them essentially, or else they would wink out of existence, American God style, right?
Oh yeah.
The difference though is American gods is like it's just Earth, so it's like it's just humans on Earth, but in the D&D realm, it's the multiverse. So like a whole planet could stop believing in a god, and it's not going to do anything. Like they've been around as long as existence has been around. And one of the interesting stories in Planescape Torment is how Hell gets its armies. Is that they will like come to Sigil, and they'll like Karlach fights in Hell, right? Like the whole story of Karlach is Gortash sold her into doing a tour of duty in Hell forever.
Right.
And it's very common actually in the Planescape lore. They explain like they'll go to Sigil and they'll like say like, do you want to do a tour of duty 2 years as a soldier in Hell? But you're immortal, not immortal. You are a mortal. And people will need the money, man. So they'll be like, okay, I'll do a tour in Hell. And so they'll hire like 1,000 people, and they'll secretly hire another 1,000 people and tell them the same thing. And they'll just make those armies fight each other, saying the other side is from the abyss.
Yeah.
But what happens is they're fighting in Hell, and if you die in Hell, your soul is claimed by Hell, and that's how they claim the souls. But they're sneaky, and they don't tell the humans that they're getting played. So there's all kinds of interesting stories that the game presents about if a world worked like Night City, but was the afterlife. Instead of Arasaka, it was, Hell Incorporated, or, the realms of like another big realm are like the Chaositechs, who they believe in chaos so much they won't even speak language properly. Like, and you meet some of these guys, and they're like cat jello bones. You're like, where's the bar? They're like, Frisbee. You know, like they're so like committed to chaos that they'll speak that way. You have anarchists who don't build anything; they just destroy what other people build. And you have like modrons who believe in order so compulsively that all other reason is thrown out the window. Everything has to have a name, a label, and a function, or else it's not part of a design and is, stupid and needs to be destroyed. So it's very, very philosophical. It's very interesting. Once you get into it's the best book. It's a good book that I'm reading. I guess
you're reading a really good book this year. That's fantastic.
But yeah, I know that little clip you showed of meeting that NPC there. That was a 3 hour. I streamed it. It was 3 hours of me reading.
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh,
this can't be engaging stream content. Because it's an important NPC you meet, and there's revelatory things, but it's just reading. There's no vocal performances, right? And there's nothing visually going on. It's just dialogue. However, I enjoy the Planescape lore immensely. Like, it is so good. And it's such a, well, whatever. It is what it is, but I'm just super into it. And I can see where, in a lot of cases, a lot of inspiration from this game in particular has like made its way into other games. I went kind of hard on Shadowlands. I feel almost a little bad Shadowlands last week.
Yeah.
It's not like they're the only game that have like cribbed off of Planescape and Planescape Torment by any stretch.
Yeah.
But where places they did crib, some of them are pretty egregious copies, but playing through it more, you can feel this game's influence throughout RPGs. Both deliberate and not deliberate.
Did you feel like you got a little bit of heat for the Shadowlands talk last week, or?
No, but I think people look. Warcraft. There's a lot of lore nerds, a lot of people that know. So if you read the book relating to Shadowlands, or if you know things, stuff might make more sense for you. I certainly didn't mean to shit on it in a way where if you enjoy it, there's something wrong with you. I don't think that. No. I was just shocked by how much cribbing was happening. Yeah. I felt it was too much.
It's a lot of cribbage.
I think it's the kind of thing where it didn't make it from whiteboard to video game very well, but did I get it? There was there was people who like reached out with corrections and stuff like that. Like, I'm actually this and I'm actually that. I would just say, like, just to briefly cover it, it doesn't change like my reaction to it.
Sure.
Like, I had a reaction, and it seemed very lifted from Planescape or from Great Wheel.
Sure. Well,
not the only ones, but this game, man, I think what I'm going to do is I'll do the bonus show about this, because I have lots of thoughts about the game, but I know we cover a lot of ground, and it's kind of, I would since you guys haven't played it, I have to present you with like things in the game to get started, and then we're going to spend hours talking about it. So,
sure.
It's also kind of hard to discuss, except to say there's just some really cool narrative moments. I really like Falls from Grace. Also, the Ignis guy. There's a character. There's a smoldering corpse inn whose primary feature is a man burning eternally.
Yeah.
He's just on fire, and the story goes is that he was a pyromaniac, and someone taught him how to use fire magic, and then he burnt a whole bunch of people in an area you can go. The Alley of Dangerous Angles is a zone in the game. Yeah. He burnt it all down. And so to put him in his place, some people tricked him somehow into opening a permanent portal to the elemental plane of fire, which was supposed to burn and consume him, but he was so powerful as a mage that he's just constantly fighting off the fire, but he's a portal, he's a conduit to that plane. So he can't do anything else but burn eternally. He's not dead. But he's burning.
Yeah.
Just forever. And he's become a fixture in the bar.
Huh.
And there's even a woman there who's like, oh, I knew him when he was alive and I loved him, and someday someone will free him. Well, that day comes in the game. You can free him, and he becomes a character in your party, Ignis.
Oh, is he the flaming guy behind you all the time?
Yeah, the flaming guy. That's Ignis. Yeah. What's hilarious about him is that you can go talk to that woman again after you free him, and then he interrupts, comes over, gives her a hug, and burns her to a charge.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, you're kind of terrible, eh? But she was happy when she's dying. She's like finally reunited again, and she burns to a crisp.
Yeah.
And you talk to him because he's an NPC. You got to find out their past. And so he doesn't like talking. if you talk to him and he gets cranky, he's going to burn you and fight you. So you kind of got to just talk to him a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
But you eventually learn that the person who trained him in the ways of fire was one of your past lives. And you wouldn't teach him, so you made him beg and beat him. And so you were actually his abuser in a past life. In one of your incarnations as the Nameless One. And so he's used to being your peon. He won't listen to anyone else except you because you gave him the power of fire. But otherwise, he has no regard for human life. He's a thoroughly evil character who will burn everyone unless I tell him not to.
Yeah.
And when you talk to him, there's a dialogue option where you can be like, you know what? I'm sorry for abusing you. And he goes, no. He's like, no, seriously, I'm sorry. Let's sit down and talk. He goes, no, I don't want to talk about it. And if you try to confront him to apologize, he goes hostile. And I killed him. And I lost him in my party because I was actually trying to be nice to him. Like, you have to be an abuser towards him to keep him in your party. And it was kind of like, I guess he's just dead now.
Yeah.
And I know there's some other recruitable NPCs in him at Party Max, so I was like, whatever. He's so cool. He's on fire. Right. He has tons of fire spells, but I was like, maybe I'll do an evil playthrough. But all these characters are like super, it is edgy. We talked about that edginess in Star Wars or whatever. Like, this game has like maximum edginess in terms of the PCs. They're very interesting, actually. And he's just one of them. But unfortunately, he burnt to death. So yay!
Wow!
Like, we killed him.
He looks like Johnny Storm back there. Just a Johnny Storm.
Yeah, he's kind of got that vibe. Except he looks like burned. He's black, like he's blackened and charred. And
jeez,
The other thing about the game too that I think was an innovation at the time is mostly in those D&D games, you pick your alignment and then play it.
Yeah.
But this was one of the first games I think that had your alignment was determined by what you do. So if you kill innocent civilians, you'll turn evil. But if you do good deeds, you'll be good or lawful. And if you follow the law, you become lawful. So I think that was an innovative thing, like before it was done in Mass Effect or other places. The idea that your actions determined alignment for your character is a new idea. And in your past lives, you can tell you were different alignments for sure. And I'm not finished, so I feel like there's still more revelations that I'm not thinking of. But I've come to a point where there was a night hag from the Grey Wastes who was in love with me, who was the cause of splitting my mortality away from my body, thus making me immortal. So there's like a lead to find out where the mortality part of me went to. But it's just interesting because you can be really nice to the night hag and be like, you're so beautiful. But it's like a night hag. It's really weird.
Yeah.
It's a trip. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm not quite done yet.
I'm really glad that you're having a good time with it. I mean, it's one of those
breeding.
like,
it's not exciting gameplay. If you want thumb candy, this is not the game. If you want to click,
but it's got a real like, hey, I've got a video game bucket list and this is on it, and let's play it. I like that. I like watching.
I think it's worth playing. I would say the combat really sucks though, honestly. I'm just like, please, every time there's a fight I'm like, oh, let's get this over with.
Yeah, that stuff's definitely gotten better over time, I think. So
and there's also memes associated with this game that I get now, which is also part of it. So you might see on a review or a comment relating to this game that says I've updated my journal.
Yeah.
It's because this gross, disgusting, super wounded guy keeps a journal and writes everything down. And like every time you do something, your guy's like, I've updated my journal. Like there's barely any voice lines in it, but one of the only voice lines is, I've updated my journal. I've updated my journal.
That's great.
Like, constantly. And I'm like, oh, I get it now. It's super funny.
It's like Diablo's I'm overburdened. I cannot carry it anymore.
Or yeah. It's like one of those.
That's great.
Anyway, the game is quite good, and I do want to talk about it just sort of in more detail. I wanted to do like a thing with it, so probably for the bonus show, which is still due to arrive, but I'm not finished the game, so I plan on playing more.
Sure.
I'll have sort of my full thoughts in a bonus section.
I am excited for more. This stuff fascinates me. I love talking about deep stuff.
I just love that the characters are unique and interesting. They're all tormented in some way, and that's very different from most NPCs who are meant to be your found family. Yeah. This is not a found family. You're like, I would take them back to the store if,
Yeah.
I don't want this family.
You take them back for a refund, you're saying?
Yeah. Everyone's like, just like, like, but maybe it'll get better, but like they're all suffering. And most of the time you find out it was your fault in the past life that they're suffering.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
More progress there. You also played a little BG multiplayer. Wait a minute. BG. Baldur's Gate? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Baldur's Gate. Sorry, BG3 multiplayer.
Got it.
Just a little check-in on that. We had a big session this week because we finally did the Raphael fight.
Ooh, how'd that go?
That's always a big moment. I've been waiting a long time to share that with people who haven't seen it, and it is incredible. So it was a big moment, and we did it our first try, even though it looked like we were on the edge of destruction.
Yeah,
we learned that hope has a divine intervention. Even though I have divine intervention, I got to save mine.
Yeah,
because divine intervention's only usable once per game. Once you use it once, that's it. So
once per game, not like once per no rest
per playthrough.
Wow!
You can only ask your god for a divine intervention once. But Hope has one apparently. Who's a character? Who's an NPC who joins you for a while. So I got to save mine, but
cool.
It made all the difference in the Raphael fight. I'll tell you that much. Having like a full one of the divine interventions is just a full heal, get all spell slots back in a large AoE radius. So it was like, oh yeah, we need that. The Raphael fight is it's pretty challenging.
Yeah, it is a major ramp up. I think it might be the hardest fight in that game.
Yeah. Well, it might be the hard. Well, it's definitely one of them.
It's at the end of a long gauntlet to where you wouldn't expect. Like I almost thought we were, that section of the game. Like, oh, surely he's not going to show up. Oh, surely there's a way to get out of here without fighting.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh. I mean, there's some things you can do to make it easier. There's some checks you can pass to make it easier, but like. It is at the end of a bit of a gauntlet, and then it's a big ramp up. I actually thought the final boss fight and all of that was significantly easier than the Raphael fight.
Yeah, but you can save up, you can blow all your best stuff where you're not trying to save it. And that last fight, I think, and then also that last fight, you can get a lot of allies and advantages. That's part of the deal. Mm-hmm. But technically, that fight is optional. Because I have seen other alternate endings. There is an ending where Raphael wins, which implies that you don't fight him during the playthrough. So,
oh wow, I thought you had to. I thought it was required for whatever reason.
No. I mean, Raphael's whole deal is he wants you to help him get the Crown of Karsus, which is an item that is featured in the story, and and he has an item you could use to free a character that's very plot relevant. However, you could also choose not to do that. So there are definitely lots of outcomes where Raphael doesn't get killed, and maybe he wins and gets the Crown of Karsus. And I've seen on YouTube, I've watched like just what that looks like on YouTube because I was too curious not to, and it's it's bone chilling the speech he delivers about the hellscape he's going to unleash with the Crown of Karsus. It's kind of awesome.
Wow.
Anyways, that was fun. So
nice.
That.
A little more. Sorry. Go ahead. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, that's it. That's it for BG3. Just wanted to do a quick check-in, but I also wanted to say I have a PSA about Raven's Watch. Which is it's out in 1.0 today. So.
Oh, Raven's Watch. That's right.
Exciting.
Oh.
The MOBA-like multiplayer game.
Yeah, we played.
You guys
played that. You and I played a bit of that together, didn't we?
So it's in full 1.0. They've got a whole bunch of shit, more new shit in there. I can't report on it. Someone pinged me today, and I was like, "Oh, damn, that's right." So
that game's good.
I would expect I'm going to be expecting, or you should expect to see that on my games we played next week.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Time for one of these.
That's a good question.
We got a text from somebody. This is from an anonymous listener who sent this in to 801-471-0462 and says this. In your discussion about the PlayStation 5 Pro, you and everybody else is forgetting one important factor. I think he means me and everybody else. When PS5 launched in the midst of the pandemic, scalpers charged people $1 to $1.5K in US dollars, and people were paying those prices. I'm sure Sony seen it. I like the line, I'm sure Sony seen it. It's great. But also, some pros are being sold from scalpers for about $5,000. I'm not saying there isn't a sucker born every minute. I'm saying that the large portion of this stuff isn't being sold that way. So yes, you're going to have people with expendable cash that'll pay anything for the hot new thing, but that's not large portions of people. That's a small
I mean, if we had
aspect.
numbers, right? Like if you can talk to eBay, like if you knew what the numbers were,
Right.
You know,
I'm sure
it's just
they're significant enough to be annoying to Sony. Like they don't love this, but I don't think it's not like they sold 33 million PlayStation 5s and 22 million of those were scalped. It doesn't work that way. So if it was that kind of ratio, well then yeah, of course, you know, that would be proof that people are willing to pay a lot more, but I think it still represents a really small portion of people.
Right. Yeah, I just kind of stand by what I said last week. I think the price discussion around this game, or this console rather, is one of the most I don't know. I think it's boring. It feels like it's the only thing anybody wants to talk about is the price.
Yeah.
And to me, like, I really don't care. I mean, they've done comparisons and like the PC equivalent, right? Like we talked about that. It makes it a fair price for what it's able to perform. Like there are going to be people that absolutely buy it. There are going to be people that absolutely don't. Like to me, that the cost is just a super boring topic. I'm more interested in talking about why do we have a mid-generation bump up when it feels like games are already outperforming the hardware that they were designed for.
Yeah.
And that practice. Like to me, that's interesting because to me, that's something that needs to be figured out. Like you don't want to train consumers to wait for your mid-generation bump because games are so far ahead of where the consoles are releasing that they don't perform well on the console they're designed for. Like to me, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Like it's not good business practice. It's not good for the consumer. And in general, we shouldn't support it.
I agree. Totally agree with that. I didn't even think about that aspect of like it does train consumers to be ready for this weird, like if you're gonna now we'll have 2 generations where they've done it. So what that tells me is we'll probably have a third, and maybe I'll wait next time, right? Which screws up their launch plans if enough people do that.
Especially if the games aren't going to be able to utilize it well. Like that's the big thing. Is like there is. We've talked about the convenience of it. If you buy a PlayStation games should play very well on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like part of the advantage of not being confined to PC hardware is you don't have to figure out all the technical issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to get into the eccentricities and turn this off and try this and what if I change this setting to this. You should be able to play PlayStation games and play them extremely well. And if I bought a PlayStation 5 instead of stole it from my parents, and I went and bought a brand new PS5 game and it played like shit on the console that it's designed for, I'd be furious about it. Like, that's not acceptable. Like, that's the advantage of the walled garden of your platform. It should play well. And that's not necessarily just a Sony thing. I'm not pointing at Sony and being like, you should be ashamed. It's on the people making the games to a degree.
Yeah. Which in some cases is Sony, but I get your point. And it's kind of it's also kind of across the board. Like I feel like
everybody's doing it.
Everybody's
chasing.
They're all doing the same thing. We give Microsoft a pass because they're losing this generation, but in terms of hardware, they seem to be winning it on services. But I don't know. It's an odd time. Welcome to the oddest time in video games, in my opinion.
But yeah, I guarantee you, there's games on Xbox that don't run well on Xbox, but there's so few console exclusives on Xbox, so they don't stand out as much.
Yeah.
Console exclusive on Xbox, what's that?
Yeah.
So the idea of one not running well, you know, like I don't know, I haven't seen that unicorn yet.
That's true.
But
hey, did I say last week I would report back on how family sharing worked, or did I already talk about that?
You did. You talked about it last week.
Just so everybody understands, it's even cooler than I thought. It's not just me sharing it out to 5 of my quote unquote family members. Actually, it's all who I've sent it to right now. It's just my kids.
I was gonna say, isn't it all families with you, Scott?
Well, I was thinking, I guess I could send out invites to the remaining 2 slots to whoever wants it. But anyway, it's not just they get access to my library, which is vast, but also I get access to everything they have. I didn't know that part. it's all like it's across the board
shared fully. Oh, nice. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. Anytime we want, same game at same time. Doesn't care. Doesn't matter. Anytime you want to play these games, you're just playing them. It's pretty great. Like I don't want to give Valve all the credit in the world, but this is the most forward-thinking share system I've seen in games, in the digital game space ever. It's really good. I hope there's, I don't know if it'll affect consoles or not, but I hope it does. It's really good. That's it for Tex, and that is it for the show. A quick reminder that if you support us on Patreon, you get a bunch of extras, including an upcoming bonus host episode from Bo, all about Planescape and its torment. So yeah, you're going to want to check that out. You're going to also want to check it out because you get no ads, you get no commercials of any kind. You get monthly benefits, including art in the mail from me. Got something brewing cool for October, something kind of horror based. Whee! Yeah, I might just do like a who's the protagonist in Resident Evil 2? I can think of his name. Leon S. Kennedy. I might do it like a cute little chibi Leon S. Kennedy with his hair in his face. I was thinking about doing that.
Well, sign me up. I want one.
Yeah, I would make one for John regardless. But anyway, if you want access to some of this cool stuff, the only way to do it is join us today at patreon.com/core show. You could be like Jordan and A to the R. They're our latest members. A to the R. I don't know what that means, but I like it. Anyway, go check that out. Again, that is patreon.com/core show. All else can be found at frogpants.com/core. And we have a tradition here where the oldest lady in the room gets a microphone for a minute to tell us exactly what we played this week. So those who weren't paying attention, now's the time. Grandma, take it away.
You might have thought they did a pretty good job this week, but here you are at the end of the show listening to me. You always find your way back because you always get distracted. Here's what they talked about. They talked about the world of Warcraft and raiding in it. Scott played Utopia Must Fall. That's the vector graphics thing.
Yep.
He talked about Beyond Galaxyland. That's the turn-based thing. He talked about Satisfactory 1.0. That's the game that's satisfactory. You know what it is. Star Trucker. Sky Rogue.
Yeah.
John played Star Wars Outlaws. He played UFO 50, specifically Barbuda, Bug Hunter, Ninpeck, and Paint Chase. And he also played Balatro on mobile. He's a damn liar and a hypocrite. Bo played Planescape Torment. He talked about Raven's Watch.
Yeah.
There it is. And Baldur's Gate multiplayer, where he fought Raphael the Ninja Turtle.
Sure. That sounds about right. Well done, Grandma. As usual, you're not going into a home anytime soon. You're keeping up your end of the deal. So thanks for that. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Come back next Thursday and watch us live if you're so inclined. We start at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. At least until the time change sometime in November. So, for a while, you still got us at 5. Come watch us, frogpants.tv for that. You can find links at everything at our website. Of course, that's going to do it for us. Go play some games, and we'll see you next week.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Yes. Get more at frogpants.com.
Hello, China.
That's just for the new book.
Hello, China.